Yeah, we're also seeing showings that just hit the market, having multiple showings on the first day it hits the market, and busy all weekend long that opening weekend. And we're even seeing on our own side with selling our own listings going pending on opening day. So
yeah,
I
Tony,
think
you've
I'm
had that
at
happen like what?
4 straight weeks right now.
4 straight weeks you're running with bringing listings to the market and bringing those sellers to certainty on opening weekend. So what does it feel like when you're catching an offer on opening weekend? You're probably, you must be nervous about low offers then, hey?
Definitely not.
Definitely
I mean,
not.
there's ways to deal with those. There's definitely ways to deal with those, but I think most buyers in that position have either been burned before. So they're bringing, pretty close to list price, if not full list price offers on opening day.
But that's if you don't see multiple offers, but we're seeing multiple offers. So now we're not necessarily seeing list price as a ceiling. We're seeing offers that are going to come in excess of list price. What have you guys seen as far as distance from list to sale price? Anything that really surprised you? So I was taking a look in St. Albert the other week, and I saw a property that had sold 7% over list price. So 7% over list price when you give, when given St. Albert's average price point, like their average list price is in the 480s. So at $500,000, that's like $35,000 over list price. That is not the market that we saw in 2020. That's very different. And Doro, you brought a couple acreages to the market recently. What was that like?
Taylor, let me tell you, this was like crazy, like bringing an acreage to the market, receiving an offer on an open house weekend when we were still allowed to have open houses, and then having multiple offers on the place was just amazing. And then the other one I had was I listed on Christmas Eve, and I had an offer 3 days later. You wouldn't think that people are out home shopping at this time of the year, but here we are, and acreages are hot.
Okay, I got a theory when it comes to like how COVID is affecting our market. Like we are seeing a lot of people that are kind of choked about this situation, right? They're not excited that there's no entertainment. They're not excited that the travel is not as readily available. Like a lot of families were traveling 2-3 times a year, and they were going to places outside of our country. And now it's just not like that. There's, I think that you can get the round trip to Hawaii for pretty cheap right now. And a lot of people still aren't comfortable to go. So with that being the case, it's really interesting to see how people are reacting to that because, COVID has changed everything. The way that people view houses have changed. One of the things that we used to see before is like entire families going out to view houses. How many people can we bring now?
2.
Yeah. And if the family wants to see the property, we set up second showings and do 2 by 2 by 2 by 2.
A showing can take longer.
In there, done that.
Hey, listing agent, would you mind booking us a showing for 7 hours? Yeah, 7. They got a big family. We want everybody to be comfortable. So there's a lot of things that have been changing out that, but we're also seeing a lot of adaptation in this market. So Bradley, you and I were talking about this just recently with where people are mostly introduced to listings. Like they're not really introduced to listings at open houses anymore because open houses aren't happening.
Exactly. It's all social media these days. Like the photography that you present on social media is like thousands of people's first impression of your home. And, those thousands, you might get a few dozen that see it in person. But, that is your first impression. There really is like a strong need to make sure that those photos that you're presenting, to those thousands and thousands of people on Facebook are of the quality where they don't look past it, because sometimes the person online who looks past it, they might be the one that got away, right?
And also, let's be honest, if all other things are equal between you and your closest competition, it could definitely be the pictures that sway the difference, right? Like they could be super excited about seeing that property and prioritize it. And then that one could be the one that they offer on, because it could be that it's listed by Kim and Kim calls the listing agent like 6 minutes into their showing and says, hey, listen, I've got an offer. Are your clients ready to write? Who's been in that situation? Anybody had a phone call like in the listing? How do your buyers feel when you're calling in a listing? When you're being called in a listing and it's like, you have 30 seconds to like this house. It's very interesting, but they find it compelling, don't they? And the reason that I know that is because I use it. You know, as a listing agent, when I know somebody's in the house is exactly when I want to call them and let them know that we've received an offer. And that's a little bit more about how we're adapting. You know, the strategy is a little bit different when you're talking about how our market's changing. How are these things progressing for you, Tony? Like you've had a great streak, 4 in a row, where you're putting properties over on and off the market in, you know, what is that, 2-3 days to the market?
Yeah, that's correct. You know, we used to be looking for the offer, like really getting on the showing agents to see if they're in the top 3 and doing all of that, like our regular feedback process. And right now we're just trying to field like how many offers, who's in, when are we going to be presenting, trying to find out when the sellers are available, and just making sure that we've got everybody. It's like, hey, before the bus leaves, are you?
Yeah, are you in? That's the big question, right? So now we see kind of a way to load this. Like, let's say that you only have 24 hours to get people through. Most of the time, you have to allow for reaction time. You know, a property hits the MLS system and agents get to choose when that happens. Are they putting them on early in the morning? Are they putting them on late at night? And when it does come, how does that actually make those day 0 showings happen? Because I don't think that there's a higher potential than on day 0. As far as you get somebody who's so excited about your house and so afraid that somebody else is going to take it from them, day 0 is a powerful moment. I think that you really have to change your strategy and front load that moment. What do you think on that with your listings, Doro?
With my listings, or our listings, we have the coming soon, so which is pretty exciting. So I always explain to my clients when they're listing that the Tuesday will be where we introduce the property to our private group here at HACK&Co, our clients, and the Wednesday will be the coming soon day, where it hits realtor.ca as the listing that is to come soon. And then on Thursday, the listing goes live. So pretty much the 2 days before the listing goes live, the public already knows about this listing without it being live.
Yeah, it's really interesting that way. So on Tuesday, we have clients, but we also have a sphere of people around us that are active buyers in the marketplace right now. And because we're maintaining conversations with that, that's a really good way to load day 0. And then when we take a look at the Wednesday, the coming soon on Facebook, you know, before it hits realtor.ca on Thursday, we actually want all of our people to be able to see that this is hitting the market. They're looking on social media already. And then when we load it on Thursdays, you know, sometimes there's 4 hours between it hitting our site on the Pro Tools and then it actually hitting realtor.ca. So it's a pretty big difference there. And that means that some of the public sites won't actually populate until the weekend. You know, you'll see some sites that are slow to refresh and they're going to be happening on like, you know, day 0, or they won't be happening on day 0. They'll be like refreshing into day 1, which really leaves a buyer in a disadvantaged position if they're not kind of plugged into that circumstance. Like there's nothing faster than the Pro Tools, and that's how we want to notify people. But we're actually getting a ton of day 0 showings because of that. And we're actually seeing people talking to us about offers on day 0. And that's something that's really exciting. So as we kind of talk to our clients to figure out what they know and what they don't know, it's a little bit of a land of confusion, because let's say that you were looking up information on how to get the maximum of your resale right now. Let's say that you were Googling that. Well, the dates that look recent aren't applicable really. Like if you even got information from like, what would we say, like 10 months ago? If you had information from 10 months ago, would you end up leaving money on the table? What do you see when you're talking to clients, Kim?
You just have to make sure that you're working with new information. So making sure you're, you know, up to date and new information, even from 4 months ago. If you're looking at that information from 4 months ago, you could be leaving money on the table, underpricing your home. So always make sure, because the market's changing so much, it's super exciting. Just make sure you're with that new information.
Yeah, because like really when you saw the average list to sale price from even 4 months ago, 97%, like in the winter market, you might even see 96%, like a 4% difference. Meanwhile, Now we fast forward and we're taking a look at places in St. Albert where we're seeing, and Sherwood Park, where we're seeing 6 and 7% over list price. And could you imagine how that would kind of turn out? But the good news is that there's so much attention out there, you'd have a hard time doing that. Like if you underpriced your house, you'd have to know how to set up for multiple offers. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later. But the big thing is that the market will tell you what the market value is, because we know when we represent clients, we don't make reckless offers here. We make educated offers. We understand market value, and we do the same market research that we're going to talk about doing for sellers when you're about to pull the trigger, because we'd have to imagine selling that house. We'd have to be able to imagine that we would one day be responsible to sell that house. And so we got to get you in at the right price so we can get you out at the right price. And I think that that's really what separates us and helps us achieve those milestones, like being the highest rated and reviewed real estate team on Rank My Agent in the greater Edmonton area. So thank you so much, HACK&Co team, for helping us achieve that. And we're going to get into a little bit about evaluation here, but I wanted to make an announcement. I've got sitting next to me this Bose SoundLink. I have one of these, and I think that you guys have seen us use it before. We brought it to like events and brought it to when the team does, activities where like I think music really creates ambience. And we have the winner of our Bose SoundLink, the early RSVP prize, and that is Colleen Pusher. So congratulations to Colleen. We salute you, and yeah. Okay, we are 7 contests that we're going to run tonight in the discussion in this live event. So if you are cruising around in the live event, make sure that you leave your comments, talk to us. We'd be happy to hear from you. And we also, when these guys aren't on camera, these guys are here. You could be commenting on our Facebook page. You can be sending messages in saying, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about my neighborhood? We have a ton of information. We have an entire team to help you become more educated. So while I am going through trusted expert after trusted expert, announcing contest winner after contest winner, you could be talking to Bradley about what's happening over in Greenfield. You know, maybe Kim can tell you about her recent sale out in West Terra. Or Doro. Doro, you've been putting acreages over the fence lately. And it seems one after the other. And I really have to say the advice that you're giving to those clients about getting their outside ready for sale, that's something that's really contributing to that success. So that's fantastic. So just remember, when these folks aren't on screen, they are available to you, and we'd love to hear from you as the night progresses. So let's talk a little bit about when clients make contact. So people that are thinking about selling, if you haven't done this before, the people that I always like feel a lot of concern for is those second time buyers, like the first time sellers, because they feel as though they've already kind of done the process, but they did the buying side, and the selling side is its own beast. So in a fast market like this, talking about people that are like, how do I get from one house to the other? There is very different strategy when you're for sure on your sale. And what I mean by that is that we understand what certainty looks like here. So we're going to help you get the right advice so that you can be real cagey with this purchase and overlap your pendings and, hopefully overlap your possession dates, because we'd like to see everybody have 2 houses for about 6 days. Hey, give them a little bit of time to make sure everything goes. 10 days is a sweet spot. Like you'd have 2 weekends. That's a lot of time to do the things it takes to do for a family to relocate. So thank you for everybody coming in to talk a little bit about this. And I kind of want to start off with comparative market evaluations, because a lot of people don't really understand what is a comparable market evaluation. How is that different than an appraisal? And mainly it's like purchase or purpose. So purchase purpose. If purchase is your purpose, then you're often going to be working with an agent to determine that. And the bank appraiser is going to double check it before the money changes hands if you're getting financing. On the other side, we do see some people get appraisals for other uses, like sometimes they're going through legal situations, but mainly what we're talking to people about is here's some real numbers on what's selling in the marketplace, and here's what that means to you, because we can add context to that, which is the most valuable. So I think that we can normally help most people understand enough to have the right conversations with us by breaking down real estate into 3 basic pillars of value. So let's talk a little bit about characteristics. Tony, how does it affect real estate when we just talk about characteristics, which is what it is?
Yeah, all we want to know is what is it, right? we always look at, we talk about, is it below average, average, or above average? And so for the longest time, the average experience that people were looking for was 3 bedrooms above grade. They were looking for, you know, a nice living space with a decent backyard. And now what we're seeing is there's advantages to having the main floor den, an upstairs bonus room, or extra bedrooms in the basement with a larger yard, because people are wanting to have that extra space to work from home, to have everybody close by. And so we're just seeing these properties that come on the market with these types of features just hitting it out of the park when they're.
That's fantastic. And I can see what you're talking about, which is like what people used to want for characteristics, like what is it and where, and how does it serve people? So is it a situation where we're taking a look at a property that does fit the biggest group in residential real estate, which is families with kids, and they're normally looking for those 3-bedroom upstairs? Or is it where we're having to satisfy this new group in real estate that have to work from home? You know, this group that has to work from home, that has to school from home, that's a really big change. And I think that that's exactly what you're talking to with like those main floor dens. That's a great place for kids to do homework or have schooling where you can kind of keep an eye on them, but they're not really in the way. And what are the other things that you've seen out there that people get really excited about? I have a theory. I think that we're going to see theater rooms that nobody uses change into soundproof offices that everybody uses. What do you guys think of that? And I think employers are going to get on the hook. And what I mean by that is up until now, they've been like, oh, no, working from home is an advantage for you. Why don't you accept less and have this convenience? And it's going to go to the other side of that story where it's like, oh, you're requiring me to have Zoom on, like to Zoom with you without any distraction, without any children in the background or anything else like that. And so I think that I'm going to need compensation that reflects me providing that space. So it's going to be an interesting argument as we go forward. And that's the biggest thing that we've seen with people changing because they're looking for larger characteristics. And really, if you're not going to commute to work, why not trade some location for characteristics, right? So Doro, sorry, go ahead, Tony.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I don't think I've had any buyers recently that have not wanted that extra space for office room. So that's one thing we've been keeping our eye on for sure.
So Dora, why don't you talk to me a little bit about condition? Because, you know, for people that don't know you, they should know that your husband is a fantastic handyman and that you would have a deep understanding of the materials it takes and what good condition kind of looks like. So we describe condition as being like how well it's kept. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're taking into consideration when you're walking through houses, looking to kind of determine their value? Oh, I think that you might still be muted there.
I'm here. I am talking. Yeah. So about the condition in a house, when I have a walkthrough, what I'm looking out for is it well maintained? Like, for example, the floors. Are they scrubbed, or is there any scratches in there? How is the overall condition of drywall, doors? There's so much to look out for. And of course, the improvements that a home can have, like, for example, maybe you just exchanged the countertop and now you have a granite or a quartz countertop. And so the move-in ready is a higher value commodity because right now construction cost is through the roof. Like when you think of what you're paying right now for a 2x4 or a sheet of drywall compared to what we were paying for this last year, it's double in price. So I think when people can just move into the homes without doing any renovations, that has a very high value.
Yeah, because we often see that when condition is lower, when somebody is looking at it as a buyer, they don't normally value doing the changes at market value. They don't look at a floor and give an accurate estimate of what a floor would cost. They look at a floor and think, okay, I'm going to need the cost of this floor, and then I'm going to need some insurance. I'm going to need to know that if I start doing this and it's more work because I don't know this home very well, that I'm going to kind of be covered on that. And then if you also add the premiums that we're seeing in lumber, I think that when you take a look at a property that is move-in ready versus a property that needs work, it's a very different outcome when it's viewed through a buyer's eyes. And I also like what you said there when you were saying that you like how the floors are an indicator. You know, you really can't hide what's been on the floors, like whether it's kids, dogs. And if you see the floors are a little bit dicey, you're probably going to be looking for those marks up the stairwells and around the corners. And we've all seen that house. And, you know, needs paint is something that we definitely talk about. But when we're talking about something that you're going to pay over list for, I don't know. I don't know if needs paint is going to be something that people end up, you know, fighting with their money over.
Yeah. So what I'm talking to my clients about is it's a simple sentence. It's like, if you have two packages on the shelf and the one is battered and the other one is shiny, which one do you take?
That's a good way to put it. And that's
Make your
exactly
house
how
shiny,
we make that information so available to the sellers that we talk to, is we help them understand like what makes a difference. Bradley, when it comes to the thing that they talk about most in real estate, where they say location, 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 what are they actually talking about? So location is where you live, but what does that mean?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one, because a lot of people think location and they just think like, you know, where is it in the city? They think of it in a broad sense. Whereas, you know, a lot of times people have that kind of narrowed down when they start their search. So they might not be seeing things on the opposite side of the city. So it's kind of not really included. So they may not think it's as important. But then you go into micro-location, which is essentially like, you know, not just where it is in the city, but where it is in comparison to the other houses in that location. So for example, being in a cul-de-sac would be considered, you know, an above average location. Backing onto green space, for example, may be considered above average. So it's not just where it is in the city, it's, you know, how it's positioned, where it's located. And, you know, we're kind of seeing a lot of, you know, that's a big difference that has been made with COVID, is location. You know, typically the more towards the center of the city you are, kind of the higher value location gets, because, you know, everybody wants to be close to work, the less commute, you know, naturally that's going to be a little more valuable to some people. But as commuting becomes less and less required, thanks to working from home, we're kind of seeing people take less value in that location, and they're willing to get, you know, more characteristic and condition by moving a little further from the center of the city. So we're seeing people move to the outskirts and work from home. So they're still not having to do that commute, but they're also getting more house for their dollar because close to everything.
I couldn't agree more. And really, when you take a look at how these factors come into consideration, imagine that you had above average to spend in the greater Edmonton area. So above average, like let's go 25% up and say $500,000. Now, what $500,000 buys you near capital locations like the University of Alberta, other locations on the north side, like maybe what we call the north side name brand neighborhoods? Talking to you, Glenora, we're talking to you, Crestwood, Laurier, we hear you. And in those areas, people are paying a premium for the location because they're controlling commute. But you know what? COVID opened the barn door to work from home, and I don't think the horses are going back. You know, remember when Lululemon opened the barn door for sweats at work? And now it's just like, we're never getting it back, you guys. And now it's the same thing, is that work from home is going to be such a major factor that we're going to see people that are working interesting distances from home. Like you might talk to your friend that's in the West End, and they may work for a company in Vancouver. It's going to be so interesting to see how this shakes out. And I also want to talk a little bit as we shift here about what buyers look for most. So Kim, you've been out taking a look at a lot of property. And when we talk about a lot of property, like there's definitely houses where you're going to see 40 houses plus a week, right? Or definitely weeks where you see over 40 houses a week.
Yeah, definitely.
So when you're walking through with buyers, you do so well at making them feel comfortable and also reading them. That's the one thing that we always love when you're working with our clients, is just how well you can see what's going on with them. So being so tuned to reactions, what do you see from buyers when they're walking through? So let's just talk about like the obvious things, like let's say that they see something that's broken.
So what I see when I'm with buyers lately is like you guys are saying, the pressure is to the move-in ready properties. So, you know, they're because of the cost of everything, move-in ready homes, locations that provide privacy, that offer privacy is another one. And then characteristics offer that homes, like the office spaces, the dens for the home offices and homeschooling.
So that's interesting. So you're saying that not only are they basically turning away from anything that has any trouble, they're really turning towards these things that are like the COVID highlights.
Mhm,
You know,
definitely.
more space in the house, less
Yeah.
tied to location.
Yeah, and outdoors too, like want more space and more privacy outside as well in their yard.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people that really want to get into more independence. Like if they're in a duplex, they want a house. If they're in a house, they might want an acreage. You know, it's really
Yeah.
interesting to see how far this might go.
Mhm.
Well, we really appreciate you helping us understand a little bit more about what's going on. I love how the teammates here at Hack & Company both list houses and help buyers, because I'd have to say, if you have a listing agent that doesn't help buyers, how tuned are they? How tuned are they to how buyers feel right now? And when you're talking to a team where people are walking through over 40 houses a week, you're looking at some people that have a lot of reference points to help understand why there's a buyer out there that's going to fit and how they're going to pay the most money. So thanks for joining me for this segment. I know you guys are going to slip into the breakout room, which means that they're available. If anybody wants to message us, if anybody wants to hit the hot phone, that number is 780-909-6770. You can talk to a teammate right now. As you guys hit your breakout buttons, they will become available. And I'm going to move over and we are going to let our first guest of the evening into our primary room. And I'm going to introduce Preparing Your Budget to Sell. So we're talking to Justine Cooper. Justin, you were with ATB, which is Alberta's bank.
Yes, it is. Hi, everyone. How's it going?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you so much for asking.
That's fantastic. So taking a look at what our market is doing right now, that puts a lot of pressure on the people that can or cannot perform that do mortgages. You know, as agents, we're really not giving you a lot of space for operating, right?
No, we've seen a lot of tight deals the past couple weeks, which adds to a lot of the excitement, but also stress levels as well. But can't really complain about, being busy and having deals come in, right?
Yeah, that's definitely like having people that need help is important. And also with real estate, how it's been over the last 5 years, this is a welcome change, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And when we're talking to people about making these positive changes in their life, like taking this milestone and making it a milestone that matters to their family, I know that really like budget is something that they're focused on. Especially when they're feeling a lot of pressure to pay more for houses. There isn't that spread. Like sometimes we see 4% between list and sale price. And I'd have to say that, probably not a well-priced property if that's the distance right now, because the good stuff is going quick. So when you're talking to people, I find that the key element to a great experience is making sure that they talk to you really early, right? Like even before they start moving with us.
Agreed. I can't stress that enough. That is probably the biggest piece of advice I would give people is start your pre-approval process early, and it's just going to make everything go so much more smoothly for them, for me, for you guys, just all around. Great idea.
So that is something that I would definitely agree with, but sometimes it's tough for people to understand why. So let's take a look at like the last couple of weeks. We had a little bit of a rate bump, right? So
Yes.
those people that talked to you early, did they experience a rate bump?
So the best part about getting started with a mortgage application is it locks you in to a rate. So if you can even get an application started with a mortgage professional, you're locked in usually for 90 to 120 days. So we are seeing kind of modest increases here and there. People that have started applications are protected against that, which is another benefit.
So basically those people that locked their rate in early, they didn't even experience the bump. They got a deal that no one else could see.
Yeah, basically we'll honor that rate. So I mean, once they get their offer in and it's accepted, we will move forward at the rate that we originally guaranteed.
So that guaranteed rate, does that last for a week, 2 weeks? How long is that?
Yeah, no, so we can usually go 90 or all the way up to 120 days, just depending on the application. But yeah, so it does.
Context to that? The average distance between the time you offer and the time you take possession is about 60 days. So you're really allowing people 2 months to shop. And,
oh, absolutely.
And if they're just lining up with what we consider normal,
Yeah.
Most of the time, somebody's got to sell real estate to go buy real estate. And they need like that 60-day runway to make it all happen for their family without coming unglued.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, we don't want people to feel rushed by any means. So it does give you kind of like that grace period.
So when you're talking to people about their budget, we know that as a trusted expert, we're constantly collaborating with you. So they're going to need some puzzle pieces to understand. So what we often want to do when they're selling is to talk a little bit about the value of their property and have that discussion so that well, right now, what we're normally talking to people is like, here's the good price and here's the great price.
Yeah.
Whereas traditionally we might be talking about like, okay, here's a good scenario, here's an average scenario, here's like, but in this market, these things are starting to shift in a positive way. So we give you the good number, we give you the great number, and now you have some foundation to build on because you have your numbers for down payment and you can start to work it out from there. So when you're talking to somebody about setting a budget, what does that conversation look like? And what do you normally want to know? And where's the aha moment for them?
For sure. I mean, I think I see a lot of people get caught up with kind of wanting like the bigger home, the better home. But I mean, us as lenders, we kind of have a due diligence to make sure we're approving people with a home that they can afford. And we don't want to see anyone be kind of like house poor or house broke, right? So yeah, definitely once we kind of look at, you know, what someone could potentially be getting for their home, what they're going to be listing their home for, you know, depending on what that shakes out to after they pay off any existing mortgage, HELOC, if they want to kind of put some of that towards any debts and tidy everything up, then we can kind of firm up what a down payment would look like and proceed with a pre-approval from there. So we can make it very conditional to kind of the hypothetical situations that may take place, and then make a good recommendation based on the client's needs and wants from there.
I like how you see the whole field. And sometimes that's the real power of working with somebody who has a network tied into a bank. You know, what you're just mentioning here is the reality for so many people out there. You know, they start a family, they have kids, they go through, you know, the parental leave time, and then all of a sudden it's a little bit tight there and kids cost more than you think. And you didn't understand that these things were going to kind of add up, and you feel like such an obligation as a parent to deliver those 18 summers, right? Like that's what we're all trying to do. And so when we're talking about budgets and buying power, you were saying that sometimes people are basically saying, I'm going to sell my house, but now let's take a look at my like loans and lines of credit.
Yeah. I mean, we usually like to look at people's full financial situation and also take into considerations all those what if situations, right? Because of course, with life, there's things that come up that are super unexpected, right? There's things that happen to people that people just don't anticipate. And that's just kind of the reality. So we do like to account for all those kinds of situations. And that's really our job to kind of shed light on that and really paint a clear picture on what that might look like for people's monthly obligations, and make sure they're going to be comfortable with and fully understand what it's all going to look like, right?
Well, thank you so much for like helping us understand a little bit about what you see, because I know that when you talk to somebody about going to get a pre-approval, they act like they're going to school to write an exam.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it never feels like that, but I mean, I know I definitely try and make it
to you right now, and I just want anybody watching to understand this doesn't hurt.
Yeah, no, it's not meant to be a painful process. It should be a really exciting process. Honestly, it should be a fun, exciting process. It's a fun and exciting time. It's a brand new chapter. So we try and make it fun. But yeah, don't be scared.
Now, when we go to make this transition from selling to buying, I think that this is the biggest like perilous moment for those people that, you know, are unprepared. Because if they don't go forward and get a pre-approval, when you take a look at the moment that they have a sale agreement on their house, this is going to happen now. You're moving, right?
Yeah.
And now if the jump that you're looking to make is different than you thought, or if a financial institution that you're not related to has been changing policies that you've not paid attention to, this could be something where they look at your income differently than they did before.
That can be a really devastating situation, which is just, again, one of the many reasons that it is so important to get in to talk to a mortgage specialist, talk to your banker about the whole process and what it's going to look like. Because if you haven't done that and things are moving along, like the bank hasn't committed anything to you potentially. And that could leave people in a pretty scary situation. So Yeah, at all costs, let's just avoid that and talk about it in advance and get it organized.
I love that.
Mhm.
I think that this is a big part of being, doing this responsibly, because
Yeah.
not only are you going to tell them what's possible, and I think that's what people are afraid of, is that you're going to say no.
Honestly, I would say
Flat out
it's
say
actually,
no. Like,
no,
it
and
doesn't sound like your approach.
no, I think like I really practice the approach like, okay, if not now, here's how. So honestly, I would like to say like I'm never gonna give someone a decline. I'm gonna say, okay, we can't do it based on, maybe A, B, and C. However, let's tidy this up, let's fix up this, let's get this, and then you're good to go, right? So
They got
it
like
can,
a to-do list.
exactly. There may be like a tiny little bit of homework, but I would say often cases, people are pleasantly surprised with what they're approved for, which is good. Fingers crossed that continues. But
it's also
yeah.
a pretty low rate environment, right? So your
Mhm.
money's going further than it used to go.
It sure is. Yeah, it's such a good time to be
Like,
getting a mortgage.
the ballpark and was like, what is it? $10,000 for $50 a month ish.
Say that again, sorry.
$10,000 for $50 a month.
For interest?
No, for mortgage payments.
Oh, for mortgage payments.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to like Rain Man that's out for me right now, but
I'm like, can I just grab a calculator?
yeah. And I know better than that. I know that when
Yeah.
you're talking to somebody who's an expert with numbers, they're never going to just like shoot it back to you. They're going to be like, let's verify. We're going to put a couple asterisks next to this. We
Right.
want you to understand what to bet on and what not to bet on. So I definitely get that. Is there
Yeah.
anything else that you would want somebody to know or have a good understanding of before they enter the marketplace? Like if they're just thinking about getting their property listed now, is there something that you have there in your toolkit that they might not know you have?
I mean, I would definitely just say like, get in and talk to someone. So many mortgage professionals are looking at meeting people virtually. So it's extremely safe. It's extremely convenient for people to be getting the information that they need. It may clarify so many different things for people. I do find it can be, I mean, as you can probably attest to, it can be a bit of a stressful time when you're listing and looking at moving. Like there's a lot of moving parts. So if you have even one extra person in your corner, like take that, use the experts, because that's what we're here for. Yeah, and I mean, the other biggest thing I think would be, if you're not getting a pre-approval in place and you don't know what that's going to look like, if you're out shopping for homes, maybe you're falling in love with a home that potentially isn't a reality. And that's always really heartbreaking too. So let's avoid heartbreak, let's avoid stress, and let's talk about it.
And let's avoid those 3-star experiences and make sure that you get with the real estate team known for 5 stars.
There you go. Exactly.
It looks like collaboration with the other people on the team, because the idea is that most people don't have staff on any other purchase up to this point. You probably didn't have people like myself. You probably didn't have people like Justine following you when you bought a car and saying like, well, let's be honest. I used to work in that industry. I think that you could take me with you. I would probably be a benefit to your circumstance when it comes to the negotiations. But the same thing is that having somebody give you the lens and say, this is what it's going to feel like financially when you make this change. Because some of the ways, sometimes through our collaboration, we end up talking about different ways to solve the problems you have.
Totally.
Right? Yep. Like moving out of this place, you could be like, I'm not going to renovate again. I'm just not going to do it. Right?
Yeah.
And moving into the next place, it could be that the way you change how you're going to use your money will change your outcome. There's a lot of different tools that you have now that weren't available. It's a much more lender-friendly environment than it was a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, even with the COVID setbacks for a lot of different people, banks are really looking at the big picture. So we're doing a lot of great things for clients and really just, thinking about that big picture. And if it makes sense, like we're going to be in our client's corner.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming in tonight and chatting a little bit with us. This is Justine Cooper. She's with ATB Financial. She does mortgages all the time. So you don't do anything else. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. Live, eat, and breathe mortgages.
This is what I love about, working with specialists is, talking to somebody that you can confirm does mortgages all the time.
Yeah.
That's much different than a situation where somebody might be doing mortgages today and loans more commonly than that.
For
And
sure. Yeah, I think we're just that much more specialized when we're doing it kind of all day, every day. So, I mean, in the finance world, things are changing so fast too. We're just a little bit more up to date and a little bit, I would say, more knowledgeable on just all the ins and outs. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in and spending some time with us tonight. And
Thank you.
I wish you the best of luck as we enter into this coming market. Thank you so much, Justine. And I hope
You're
that you have an
so
excellent
welcome.
night.
Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. So as we move through the next trusted expert, we want to remind people that they can enter into all the prizes in our they can take a look at entering into any of the prizes in the description of this event. So you can just pop in to the description and get all those things sorted. Now, I am not sure entirely, but I think that I have to let somebody in here. I think that right outside the door is waiting for Carol Morhart, and I think Tony's even working the door now. So we're getting all this set up, and let's do, so as Carol gets all hooked up here, hi, Carol.
Hey, how are you?
I am doing awesome. How are you doing? This is
Great.
Carol Morhart.
Hello.
Carol Morhart of Handyman Connection. So what we're often talking to sellers about is making the most of your house before resale. And I have to say that talking to a lot of buyers out there, they're really sensitive to anything that might be broken. Can you tell us a little bit about Handyman Connection? Like you connect people to the people that can do everything they need, no matter how odd, how big, or how small the job. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're your one call to all the connection, like to all the trades that you might need in your home. So really our focus is at small to medium home repairs. So those little things that are broken are really quite easily fixed. And that's really what we tackle. So yeah, we'll just come out and take a look at it with you and make sure that we can kind of fix it up for you.
So when we're talking about the most common calls that you get, can you give us an idea of the type of work that somebody might see needing to be done in their house, but thinking like, oh, I can't call anybody for that?
Yeah, I mean, that list is endless, really. It just depends on your house, but it could be drywall repairs. You know, if I think about my house, I have a trim on the side of the door that was scratched by a dog. You know, to me, we walk by it every day. But to a new home buyer, that might be something that they're like, oh, what happened here, right? So
Yeah.
just a piece of trim or a piece of casing on the door that might need to be replaced. Yeah, as I say, like drywall repair, just your casing or baseboards that might be missing in a closet or by the front entry. Even just a door adjustment. Those are very important as people are opening and closing the front door. It might just be a door adjustment that need to happen. I mean, as I say, the list is endless and it really depends on your home. But all those little things that we sort of live with every day as homeowners, you know, new buyers may look at that and think that it could be a bigger fix than it is.
Yeah, that's definitely what we see from our experience. We normally see people a little bit concerned because they're not familiar with the house. So they don't know necessarily if it's something that's an easy fix or not, because they don't know how the problem's been progressing. They just get like this one view. And also, if you've ever seen how inspection reports are written, they're written in a way where you're holding the pen with one hand and you're using the other hand to cover your, never mind. But the idea is that they're going to ask people to refer to experts that could end up taking more time to get to you with, to get to certainty for you and your family when it comes to your sale. And so as many of those things that you can patch up, the first thing that we're normally talking about is anything that appears broken. So those things that you mentioned, like the front door is what the opening impression is to many properties. They open that front door. Did they have to wait for 7 minutes while their realtor like jingled keys and they were freezing outside? You know, when they opened the door, was there's like this big ka-chunk as they opened the door? Because after that, they're going to be tuned to things. Like you mentioned pet damage. If you can see a food and water dish from the front door, I guarantee you that you're going to check every single step, that you are going to be looking for those places where there may be damage in a listed property, because, you know, there's hundreds of buyers that have worked with us and we see exactly what they're focused on. Mm-hmm. But there's also a lot of other systems that you might think are okay that really need to be checked out. Like it must be nice to have somebody knowledgeable and say like, that thing's kind of always dripped.
Is that a good thing? Yeah. So, I mean, one of the great things about us, Taylor, is we always come out and just take a peek at it with no cost and no obligation. So, I mean, if there's any concern by a seller, and they just want to have it checked out, I mean, we'll send. So at Handyman Connection, we have about 30 independent contractors that work with us and work really quite closely to us. So what we'll do is just send them out to walk through those worries with you and make sure that, you know, we can address any concerns that you do have as a seller. And, you know, you don't have to fix everything, but maybe the drip, that's an easy fix.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely one to fix. I think that there's few things that people are worried about more than water, but sometimes it's just a little minor thing that makes it look major. Like if you've ever seen a leaking humidifier on the side of a furnace, it looks like it streaks all over the place. There's calcium everywhere. You know, if it's on the side of a furnace, sometimes there can be a little bit of rust. Now, is the furnace having trouble? It just leads to these questions that you don't want buyers to have while they're standing in your house. And the other things that we're talking about is the cupboard. You know, I just had somebody come by my place because the drawer, the pot drawer, my wife, she doesn't. I think that maybe she thinks that you can put anything that fits in the drawer will hold in the drawer. I think that she thinks that you could put lead bricks in there, and if they can fit in there, they should hold.
There's space. Let's fill it.
Yeah. And I don't know about those things. So honestly, I can't really tell her no. But all of a sudden it starts to sag on the one side. And if buyers are getting this information, they're a little bit concerned. Now let's talk on the other side. When you were starting to look at those larger projects, because you were saying that you're really focused on small to medium projects, what does it start to look like when you're saying, okay, this might be out of scope for us?
Yeah, I mean, anything within the home, we really can't tackle. I think if you're getting into full room remodels, like a full basement development or a kitchen development, I mean, we tend to focus more on the things that are quick upgrades, like, you know, if we want to talk about changing out your knobs on your door handles, your cupboard doors, your cabinets, just for
Oh, that's a good recommend. You know what? If you're rocking like the oak and gold look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why change your cabinets if you don't have to? So just some clean, modern door pulls would be great. So just little things like that. So we try to.
Fixtures are a big one.
Yeah, light fixtures. Yeah.
Right. Or if you have interior doors that are coming apart, or maybe somebody like didn't quite get the door handle turned before they gave it a push. I've seen that a few times.
Easy fixes, right? And these are, as you say, they can grow and sort of cause some anxiety that there's a lot more behind what's actually going on. But it's absolutely, this is what we do daily for the last 24 years. It's just these little quick fixes. That's
incredible. Most businesses, like I just learned recently that the reason that a lot of businesses put establishment dates is because it's super rare when they exceed 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2 years is like, when you think about 2 years for an entrepreneurship, you have to envision those National Geographic videos where the turtles are trying to make it to the water and the birds are like, we're one of the entry points of entrepreneurship because real estate is one of those easy accesses for entry. And it feels terrible here when you see so many people that kind of start off. So having a business around for 24 years means that you guys have actually survived 3 very different economic cycles.
Yeah.
And that's something that probably says that you have a lot of repeat and referral customers.
Yeah, I mean, more than half of our business every year is just from repeat clients alone. And that's probably for the last 12 years. And yeah, it's just what we're trying to do is we really want to try to create that customer service experience with homeowners, because there's not just one small job in your home. And it's really hard to find the contractors who will focus on the small jobs. It's just not worth their time. So for us to come out and just fix that up, it's just, you know, there's always another little job that pops up as homeowners. And that's really where we focus on. And I think one of the biggest complaints in this industry is that guys don't show up or don't call back. And we just don't let that happen. And that's kind of why we've been in business for 24 years, as we're always making sure we're on time, showing up, deliver our bids, finish the job. And you don't have to chase it. It's worry-free.
That's fantastic. And I think that that's like a key element to making these relationships work, because sometimes the people that are so good on the tools, they need a little bit of help making sure that the trains run on time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that that's a good relationship. Can you talk a little bit more about who's coming to my house when we call? Like, what does your team look like?
Yeah. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we have about 29 guys that work with us, and they all have varying experience levels, but everybody has over 20 years experience in their trade. And we're trying to bring on we have licensed plumbers, we have master electricians, we have carpenters, painters, drywall guys. Like we have the full gamut of the trades for the residential. And really, like I personally recruit every single guy that comes through there. And the reason I do that is I need to know that I can send him into your home, Taylor, and I'm comfortable sending him into your home. Or if I'm going to send him to mom and dad's place, that I'm comfortable sending him there. So I personally recruit every single craftsman. We have a very, the vetting process is pretty long and intensive, but we want to make sure that one, they have the skills, and then two, they have the communication ability to deal with homeowners, which is very important. So, I mean, one of the things that's very challenging with renovations is we tend to talk about a lot of things as we're working through the project. And so some of that just kind of goes over our, like us as the homeowners, it goes over our head because we don't understand all the technical part. So we really want to make sure that we have guys that can communicate the beginning, middle, and end of the project. So it's either, understandable, but these are smaller jobs, but it's still very important that that communication is there. So there's no surprises in the end.
I totally agree. And that's a beautiful thing, because it sounds like you're dealing with a really established tradespeople that are looking for the lifestyle that's suited by being a handyman. They can come in, they can do jobs, because that's really hard on your body. So I can understand how you would find great fits with people that have amazing skills they've accumulated over a long period of time, and they're looking for a change of pace.
Yeah.
Right. That's something that's probably interesting about the type of work you do.
Do you know, years ago, we used to try to recruit semi-retired craftsmen, but homeowners just keep them too busy. So there's no retired craftsmen. They have a lot of years of experience, but they just, we're able to keep them busy throughout the year, which is great.
Yeah. And they must, everybody likes a certain type of work. And I see a lot of handyman jobs are the type that kind of take you to think, like, what's the right solution here? Does it need to be traded out or worked out? And I know a lot of the times when you're talking to these types of tradespeople, they talk about the difference between, just changing parts or actually being able to change outcomes in different ways. It's neat to see people problem solve that way.
Which is important in renovations, because nothing is straight, fresh or anything, right? So yeah, they got to work around a lot of problem solving, a lot of solutions.
And that's something that we often talk about actually when clients are looking for houses, or these renovations over other renovations. Because sometimes where you see houses actually that trade hands more, everybody wants to put their stamp on them. Yeah. So we see that those houses that sell more often actually tend to have more layered renovations. And when we're talking to people about the houses that they want to change, we're actually looking for those sweet old houses that have had like 30 years with the same owner. I love that demographic. They fix the windows, the roof is good, there's a new furnace, but the same pink plush carpet and oak interior that they loved when they bought the place. Which means that you can change that out, and that's a really good benefit. And if somebody's looking around and maybe they think that something creaks and something leaks, I really think that they should call you and talk to you about what it could look like, because you're really overcoming a lot of barriers where you're talking to people about, you can come by, have a look, talk to them about what they expect as an outcome, see if it's a good fit, give them a quote on it. And that way they can make an informed decision, because when you're looking at something broken, like, how do you know what it costs to make it?
Right. Yeah, no, it's really good. And I mean, we often will say to homeowners, if you're looking at the selling process, make sure you talk to your realtor first to understand what you need to do before, you make all these changes. Because as you say, someone might walk in and like that pink carpet. But
yeah. And on the other side of that, there's some changes you shouldn't make. I've seen a few people that are like, oh, we're going to renovate our house, so it's like none other. And the first thing I think is there a reason there's been no demand for that house up until now? All right, well, it looks like we are seeing some people drop in. It's Blair coming in. I think that you're just a touch early, but we always love to see you. Blair Rayfield is going to talk to us about flooring, and we also want to let Cheryl go on with her evening. Thank you so much for joining us and talking to us a little bit about what's going on when it comes to handyman services. So please contact the Handyman Connection. It's great to talk to Cheryl about what you could do with your property, or maybe just like what needs to change. There could be something that has been bothering you for a long time, and it could be a little smaller than you think.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you so much. And welcome, Blair. Blair Rayfield, how are you?
Good evening. How are you today?
I'm doing awesome. Welcome, welcome.
Good. Sorry for the early jump in there. Apologies.
Oh, you're eager. It's good. It's good. We'll get your banner up here. We'll make this all pro. I got the background music for you. We'll even do a professional introduction from Absolute Hardwood, Blair Rayfield.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I just like to play with you because Blair and I get to talk all the time. I remember the first time that we met, we were actually at a seller's property. So we were representing the buyer, but the seller during the process, they came to us and said, you know what, our dishwasher leaked. And we want to make sure that your buyer is going to approve the fix. And that's something that I love because that means that the other party is taking us seriously, that they know that when people are working with Hacking Company, that we're going to make sure that they get to that 5-star outcome. So if we get there and there's a bunch of ripples in the hardwood, we're going to be calling Blair. We're going to be figuring out why, and we're going to be coming back. So tell me a little bit about what you're seeing in flooring right now. There's a few trend changes, but basically I understand you guys are just super busy.
Well, yeah, much like the real estate market right now, renovations are just on fire, right? With the situation here with COVID and a lot more people spending time in their homes. Renovations in any scope of it, whether it be hardwood, carpet, tile, people just want to really be happy with their space. And they're spending more time at home. And I find a lot of people are repurposing their space. Maybe that basement rec room is now being turned into a home gym, right? I've even had a couple of clients convert their garage spaces into home gyms. So yeah, lots of work being done in people's homes just to be more comfortable, essentially.
Talk to me about the home gym, because like with gyms being closed, there's so many people, you know, winter's cold here. They want to find a place that indoors where they can make that happen. When they talk to you, what type of recommendations are you making for flooring for home gyms?
So one of the most popular products, just like the flooring in the gyms or in the rec centers, is the rubber flooring. So we've got a number of different options for rubber products. They're portable, they're easy to put down yourself. They click together much like a puzzle piece. They're high grade, so they're actually cut proof. I've had people buy it for their home arena for their backyard as well. Right. So much like
that's pretty
the rubber.
So you could basically, you know, on the walk from the dressing room to the ice surface, you would essentially almost like the same experience that you have at the rec center.
Absolutely, just like at Rogers Place.
That's awesome. So that's a pretty cool change. What are the other things that you would consider like COVID specials, things that have changed?
Well, a big part of our business lately has been the refinishing services for our hardwood clients, right? A lot of people are staying in their homes. They've got these floors that are now 15 to 20 years old. You know, the builder put in that very popular maple hardwood that was 3 inches wide, dark stain. But now it's starting to show the dings, the dents, right? So the refinishing service right now is really taking off. Summer months tend to be busier than ever for that, just because people have alternate living arrangements, right? And what a better, no better way to get that property ready for sale, I think, than have us come in, resurface the hardwood so it's like new condition again, right? Before it hits the market. So
that's fantastic. And that definitely changes outcomes, because so many people are concerned about renovations right now, just given the cost of them. You know, you call somebody for renovations and the first thing they tell you is they're not going to see you until June. And the second thing they tell you is their prices have changed.
Right. Yeah, we're pretty stable. We do usually see a yearly increase from some of our suppliers, just commodity products. With the increase in oil costs, we're going to definitely see maybe some fuel surcharges added from some of our suppliers for shipping and logistics. But we're proud to partner with some rather reputable large scale suppliers. We're not just bringing in, you know, odds and sods. We're, you know, reputable companies. I've got a relationship with one of our hardwood suppliers out of Quebec that I've had for 15 years. So we're not at the mercy of any supply shortages or anything to that effect, right? So
that's awesome. And I appreciate how consistent that you are. Like, we know what happens when we have clients come and see you, and especially when you're talking about making that show experience awesome. So when you're going into a house, the first thing is with hardwood, how bad can it be before it needs to be replaced? Because I was super surprised. I had 2 big dogs and they took like the finish off off a floor around the corner to the back door, because like letting them out into the backyard. And I was amazed at what could be done as far as refinishing for hardwood.
Yeah, we've gone into homes where we've seen some pretty significant damage, whether it be burn marks from renters, whether it be an old floor from the 50s and 60s that had carpet installed over it for a number of years. I'm refinishing a job in the near future here where they actually had glued down some indoor or outdoor carpet in a couple of the rooms. And so my installer is going to have to go in, scrape off the adhesive. It'll burn through some sandpaper on his equipment, but we will get that floor back to new again. So
holy wow. I like how optimistic you are.
Yeah. I'll send the before and after pictures.
That's awesome. Well, we've definitely seen some stellar stuff from you guys, but let's talk a little bit more about renters. We got some clients that are going to buy properties and make these turbo rentals. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to put a main floor suite. They're going to put a basement suite. They're going to do the above the garage suite. Because these are the things that are possible now with the zoning changes in Edmonton on the lots that support things like the parking. Like, it's not everywhere that you can do this. You got to make sure that you know what you're looking for. But once you find it and you're going to set this up for long-term enjoyment, keeping in mind that some tenants may do some things that you don't like. And the most common is wear, not necessarily them gluing down indoor outdoor mats, but in the wear section, what flooring are you recommending for those high wear situations?
So people in that situation, whether it be a rental property or whether it be someone that's trying to do a quick renovation to a home at minimal cost, vinyl plank, laminate flooring, both leading the way in that kind of product category. A renter wants to create this feeling of spaciousness in the home, right? They don't want these cut lines from one room to another with multiple different floorings. That really does cramp the space. It feels really compartmentalized. So we can put in a vinyl plank right from front door to back door, top to bottom, right? Basements, kitchens, bathrooms, entryways, you name it. Flood-proof, easy install with minimal floor preparation. So that'd be, the laminates or the vinyls are definitely pushing the market in that regard.
I love my vinyl floor. Like, honestly, having had big dogs, with kids, I don't get nervous. The idea that you can actually remove single planks if they're damaged, there's some really cool advantages there. And I think that it's working out really well for us. I could definitely see it working out well for other people.
Yep. We've even got people that do have the hardwood and they look at the investment. Do we take that cost of doing a full refinish, or do we put this vinyl plank right over top of the existing hardwood? And by doing so, you're not damaging the hardwood. Nothing's permanently installed. Should you decide down the road to repurpose that vinyl plank, take it up, reinstall it in another room, and then expose that hardwood or have it refinished, right?
Is it going to be a trend like we see in those old houses with the skinny planked hardwood from way back when, that people start pulling up vinyl plank and revealing this hardwood from like the early 2000s? I think that'll be funny.
I've had a number of people purposefully asking for the narrow plank of hardwood because they've grown tired of the wide plank. So it's funny, what's old is new again. I was as a 20-something-year-old guy on the sales floor at Home Depot in the mid-90s when I got started in the business. I can still remember product SKU numbers of hardwood flooring from back in the day. 2 1/4 red oak, we would sell a truckload of that a week. And we've gone through those trends, right? The exotic hardwoods from the mid 2000s came and went, followed up by the espresso stained hardwoods. Then we had the period of the gray stained hardwoods over the last 5-6 years, and now we're getting back to a trend. People want natural and they want timeless again. So we are going back to natural red oaks, natural maples, and in some cases, like I said, people do want those skinnier planks again. So
it's all coming back to vinyl, right?
It's tough to predict, but yeah. Hunter green carpet, I think, is gone for good. I think we're safe with that.
I don't know, man. I see lots of houses, and I have to say that sometimes it's not exactly as you kind of see it coming. Now, when you're taking a look at carpet in general, what do you see when you're going to call it as being worn and needs replacement? Where are you looking, and how do you know? So if somebody's walking around their house and they're like, man, I think I'm going to need to change this to sell.
Yeah. So the telltale is the stairs, right? stairs are the place that takes the brunt of the wear and tear, whether it be dragging the vacuum up and down or the laundry basket or, just the constant foot traffic up and down. The underpad starts to flatten out. The carpet takes takes on the staining and whatnot. I'll often recommend, doing a full flight of stairs in a hard surface, whether it be a vinyl or a hardwood. It's quite an investment. You're looking at about a $4,000 to $5,000 investment for a hard surface staircase, right? We can harvest carpet out of maybe a bedroom, maybe a basement, and use that carpet, change out the carpet on the stairs to give it a fresh new look, and then maybe put a cost-effective vinyl plank on a flat surface in that bedroom or basement, right? So repurposing some of the carpet and reinstalling it on the stairs without showing all that wear and tear or the stains, right? So very cost-effective way.
So many people would have a spare bedroom. Like they would have a spare bedroom where nobody has stepped in. It's had like 6 footprints in it the whole time. Meanwhile, the mileage is all being done in those major runways, the stairs up through the hall, there's on that turn into the bathroom, there's some places that just get more steps than other places. So I've never heard that before, where we're talking to people that are going to repurpose hardwood. Not only is that a great idea that sounds cost effective, but it's also something that's along the trend of being sustainable.
Yeah, we actually recycle carpet. I've got a contact here in the city. He's in the industrial pipeline business. So when we rip carpet out of homes, they actually repurpose it to protect their pipe during shipping. So
no way.
So I have a big bin out back, just carpet. We segregate the underpad and the staples and all that, and that goes to the landfill, unfortunately. But all the carpeting gets recycled and repurposed. So yeah, that's
awesome. So as you're kind of going through 2021, is there anything else that you're seeing as a trend in flooring? Is there something that people, you're saying that you're seeing a lot of natural colors come back in hardwood? Is there any other flooring types that you're like, man, this is super hot right now?
Tile is consistently hot for us. We do, anything from a simple entryway mudroom with some tile. Large format tile is very popular as well. Gone are the days of the 12 by 12. We've got tiles now 36 by 36, 24 by 48. Large format is definitely in. You want to make sure it's proportionate to the space, right?
Yeah,
we don't want to put a
tiles.
Yeah, we don't want to put a 2 foot by 4 foot tile in a bathroom that's 5 by 5. It just doesn't quite do the area justice. But yeah, a lot of tile, and the in-floor heating is definitely a hot thing now. The prices have really come down on in-floor heating for tile. You want to create emotion when you get your property on the market to sell, right? And I think people walk in that bathroom or that ensuite and they step on a heated tile. There's nothing like it, in my opinion. So, yeah.
I've had that experience, and we also do this thing in our listings that we call notables. We get compliments from realtors all the time. They're these little pop-up cards that we write the features of the house on as they walk through the house. So they come around the corner. We've often talked to the seller in advance. The seller knows that on a hot day, they got to sell their air conditioner. They got to turn that temperature on the house down. And also that they got to turn that little switch on to get that heated floor going in the ensuite. Because that's where we really like, when you're talking about creating emotion, when somebody imagines their tour from the bed to the shower is getting better, I think that that's a good place to have an impact. So we put a little note there. So right at the moment that they're like, oh, something, oh. And I think that right then there's a huge difference in experience.
Yeah.
In real estate over time, what we've really seen is that there was a time where we were selling $400,000 ensuite tubs, those corner tubs that nobody uses. That was the feature that everybody had to have. It's like, did you get an ensuite? And now it's starting to change to these different things like multi-purpose rooms. Are you getting a lot of requests for people to take a look at flooring that's going to be suitable for like in-house offices and things? Anything to do with sound dampening?
Not necessarily just yet, but I think as more people do transition to working from home on a permanent basis versus maybe call it a temporary basis right now, I'm sure that demand will come. Vinyl planking, a lot of them do have great acoustical properties because some of them do have a cork underlay attached right to the back of the product. So from footprints, from footsteps and whatnot, the ambient sound is very minimal. right? We do also have cork flooring, which has fallen a little bit out of favor, but in terms of an environmental product, one of the most eco-friendly options out there. So cork flooring is great for sound deadening as well. But yeah, not so much a high demand just yet, but you know, as I said, trends come and go, and you never know what is around the corner.
Yep, that's the, well, geez, do you ever not know? And like the, I have to say, a lot of people are asking for my crystal ball these days, and I got to tell them it's a little blurry. It's been blurry since 2020, the first part. Well, I really appreciate you coming in and sharing a little bit with us tonight. I want to make sure that more people know where to find you, and that's at Absolute Hardwood Flooring. This is Blair Rayfield. Blair's in connection with a lot of people in real estate. You help a lot of people get floors. You help them prepare for those tenants to come in, because that's often nerve-wracking. And you also help them prepare for sales. So if somebody's walking around their house, I think that the first call is probably us. Give us a quick call, because we want to let you know whether or not you're going to see return based on the ideas. And then the second person that we're going to have you call is somebody to start talking about that flooring, because it's such a huge impact. Like really, if you want to take the pressure off some other things in your house, like if you feel as though you may not have the best kitchen, man, get that flooring done, and don't worry about it. Let the flooring take the attention.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a great opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Well, we always appreciate you helping our clients achieve those 5-star experiences. So thank you so much for being a trusted expert. You can find Blair Rayfield on our trusted expert list. He's easy to get in touch with, and he's working late at Pierce. So maybe
green screen.
Thanks so much, Blair. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thanks so much. Okay.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Okay, for those people just joining us, my name is Taylor. This is Hack & Company at RE/MAX River City, and we want to make sure that you understand that selling is different. Selling in 2021 is different than it was before. We're going to welcome back the teammates into our room here just after, just make sure that we get everything in order. Oh, actually, we've got Leslie Redshaw first. I'm having all these teammates scramble around me. They're probably watching live stream. It's just so they can be on their toes. But if you're sitting at home right now and you're like, man, I'd like to talk to somebody a little bit more about our situation, you can ring our hot phone. That number is 780-909-6770. I can see several Hack & Company teammates from our office right now, and they are ready to go here. So we have two people. I'm not sure if Tony's looking after this, but I think we have one too many guests here. If we can move somebody back to the breakout room, and I'm going to share the screen and welcome to Leslie Redshaw. This is you're from Unfauxgettable Interiors, and we're talking about show experience, because that can get you a lot of sales. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So there's got to be so many people that are talking to you right now about what the difference is going to be, because I can tell you that show experience is one of the major impacts that you can have when somebody is starting to take a look at homes. There's a massive difference between people that are well coached and people that aren't coached at all. And then the next level up is when you get people that are coached by pros. And we appreciate you being one of our trusted experts. What are you mainly looking at when you're talking to people that are coming to the market right now? They've got such a short window of time, if they have a hot property, to make that great impression that's going to have people part with a lot of money.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, the potential buyer is looking at that home based on maybe the photos online, the location and the price. And then it's once you get them in for that showing, it's to make sure that that hits them on the emotional level and checks those final boxes, you know, of what they're visually seeing, how they feel in the home, how it flows, functions, how they make sense of those rooms. It's really important. Because you can have a home that, you know, you end up with a ton of showings, but no offers. And not only do you want those offers coming in, but you want those great offers coming in.
Absolutely. I think that that's a big difference maker, because often when somebody's going through houses, they're going through houses back to back to back, right? Right now, sometimes people are going to see a few pendings. They're going to go and see some properties that they can have, just so that they can kind of try a few on as they're getting ready to find a property that comes to the market on day zero. So when we're talking about helping people prepare for show experience, we want this to happen way before pictures. Like the earlier they get you in the game, the better their outcome. Can you talk a little bit about what's in your toolkit? Like, let's start with the people that are living in their house right now. When they're talking to a home stager, sometimes they don't even know why they should be talking to you.
That's right. I mean, it's not, it's just crucial right now, especially because we're in a seller's market, that this is a great opportunity to make sure that you're getting every bit of value and dollar that your home is worth, or that potential buyers are willing to pay for it right now. So preparing like freshly painted walls, and not just repainting the color that you already have. Sometimes you really need to lighten it up, brighten it up, and appeal to, you know, the potential buyer for now. Organized storage space, and it's not organizing your stuff, it's getting rid of a good amount of clutter and showcasing. Those are money rooms. You know, freshly painted walls, storage spaces, and up-to-date floors. And sometimes it's not in the budget to update the floor, but it could be in the budget to add an area rug or take out an outdated area rug, just to give the space a fresh clean. Like, it doesn't, we're not talking thousands and thousands of dollars. It can be as little as taking down the old and outdated window treatments that have been up for 20, 30 years. That makes a huge difference.
It's so hard to see your house as a show home. You know, like just getting somebody else's opinion, having them walk through where they can say, well, you know, a lot of people are like, well, this paint is good paint because I don't have to choose another paint. But when you walk into a room, you see the potential. When you're talking about colors with folks, a lot of the times maybe they bought their house in the early 2000s and they have what they used to call real estate beige.
Mm-hmm.
How can you change that color without changing everything else? Like, what, you know, with those types of houses, where do you start?
Well, sometimes if it's fresh and it's clean, sometimes it's just a matter of bringing in some artwork that's updated. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that we're literally changing the color on the wall. You know, beige can be a great color, or maybe it's the trim work that needs to be lightened up, you know, and it's a fresh coat of trim and maybe some of the doors. And it doesn't even need to be all of the doors. Sometimes in an outdated kitchen, we can paint the pantry door, and it just gives the whole feel of a quick uplift.
Man, I've totally seen that. So you're going through a property, you're talking about paint, generating an atmosphere. You're probably also talking about anything that appears broken or something that's going to, you know, take a buyer's attention. What do you see most that normally needs attention that way?
Lighting.
I agree.
Right.
People don't know when they walk through like a builder show home, that house, like it easily has like 100% more lighting than the house that you would buy.
Yeah.
So
And
talk a little
so
bit about lighting with me, maybe when you're talking about a lighting to make a show experience, how do you look at it? And you know, a lot of people don't see lighting in layers. They just see on and off.
mm-hmm. So sometimes it can be as simple as lamps, just to brighten and lighten up the show experience, or lighting is not as expensive as people think. There's a lot of great options. Sometimes it's changing out the light bulbs, you know, to brighter, and cleaning those light fixtures. Wow, the difference a clean light fixture can make.
Totally, because I know that you might not notice that as it's your house because you don't look at the light. The reason you don't look at the light is because you've looked at the light 100 times. You know where it is, you know what it does, you know what it feels like in the room where it needs a change.
Yeah.
But when somebody's getting to know the space, they look around and then they count the bugs that they can see inside your light fixture.
Yeah, lighting, fans, all those things. Yeah, those little details that make the difference.
So even if somebody isn't actually renting furniture, having you walk through their house and look at it with new eyes and also eyes that capture potential, that's the gift, right?
It is.
Yeah.
I think people think home staging is for vacant properties, but many of us that are professional home stagers specialize in occupied staging, where we come in. A lot of times it's using what you have and maybe bringing in a few things, whether it's rental from our inventory that's really inexpensive, or maybe having you purchase a few things that would make all the difference.
Yeah, because some of the things that make accent items aren't good for families. Meaning that you're probably not going to get like a $90 throw pillow if you've got kids my kids' age, like 4 and 6. They're going to eat on it.
Well, no, you'd be surprised. In the 14 years we've been doing this, we've lost one toss cushion to a cat.
Okay, well, what I'm saying is I'm not going to buy one.
No, you're not
I
going
will
to
rent one, right? Because if I buy it, I know how it's going to end. And with you bringing them into properties that are just getting ready to sell, I
Yeah,
can understand that you
absolutely.
didn't have a much loss.
And you'd be surprised how on board the kids are. And I mean, it's teamwork makes the dream work, and it's really important. We love working with the kids in the house and give them little jobs for those first few showings. And, you know, it's all hands on deck because it's a family affair. And especially if it's a happy move and you're moving up and moving to, you know, something a little more exciting, it makes a world of difference to have everybody involved.
That's our most common client. Our most common client is moving on up. They got kids, they need more space. And a lot of the times using those little accent items, they're just the places that they didn't necessarily get to.
Yeah.
So now the other side of staging is when you are working with vacant spaces. And I know as an agent, when we're walking through buyers, a lot of the time they can't see themselves in those big open places, especially if they're really big. Like if you have a 1,500 square foot bungalow, if you have a 1,700 square foot bungalow, where does the kitchen stop? Where's that living room? Is there enough space for a table here? There's enough space for all the tables, but which one, like, it doesn't work for them. So as soon as we get someone in that has your skills, we can start to make plans. And I think the biggest thing people miss is you're not bringing in a table, you're bringing in the table. Can you explain the difference?
Absolutely, especially for big spaces. Contrary to what most people think, a living room is one of the most important rooms to stage. Many people find that that is their trouble room. They've never known how to style it. They don't know, they can't visualize how it functions and flows into the other spaces. So it's really important to have each room defined and then showcasing. If it's a family home, you don't want a little table of 4 in there. You want a table of at least 6 or 8, with the idea that, I mean, soon we're going to be entertaining. But if it's a family of 4 and you might have a friend or 2 over, you've got to have space, you know, so that people can really see how they can enjoy those rooms.
I think so too. I think that when we take a look at where we're going to focus staging, we're normally looking at those first impressions. So from the front door, what can they see?
Absolutely.
And then moving into some of the other impact items outside of the living room and the kitchen, where else are you going to focus your energy? What do you think means the most to the buyers?
Master bedroom is another big one, just to show that really beautiful retreat and the space size of the room. But actually, we just got new statistics. 91% of buyers said the laundry room is on their top list. And we've always staged a laundry room because that's always been, you know, a necessity and a room that needs function in my home. But it also is important, especially with people moving up or even downsizing. If they're coming from a large house and had a beautiful room to, you know, take care of things there, they want to see that space. And if you're renting and moving into your first home and maybe you've had a shared laundry, you know, this is your chance to have your own laundry room. It's a super important room.
Yeah, I can understand that. There's so many different points that kind of go past. You know, when we look at those laundry rooms, they're a utility in most people's property. They're in different places now. There's lots of laundry rooms that would be among other staging, like they would be among the master bedroom, they would be among the second bedrooms. And in that case, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that a full points laundry has a window and a sink. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Let the light in, let the fresh air in. Yeah. Yeah, but if it's not in a big, beautiful laundry space that's easy accessible, like if it is in the base, you know, the lower level or the lowest level, it's even more important. You know, it's easy to jazz it up and freshen it up and make sure it's clean and shows well.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what the advice that we want our clients to get, because sometimes they might know it's not right, but they don't know how to make it right. They may know that the walls need to be changed in color, but what will go with some of the other elements that they don't want to change because it's expensive. So I really appreciate that you provide clarity on that. And you can come through somebody's house and just give them advice on what show experience is like without selling them anything outside of that. You guys do consultations for that exact purpose, right?
And I mean, the misconception is that home staging is decorating, and it's not. Home staging is designed to get you top dollar and to showcase your home. End of story.
Yeah, could you imagine trying to sell anything that wasn't in its best shape? And there's so much like value at stake here, where we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. And a lot of people don't realize that they're in a competition with the house around the corner. They're with a competition with a house in the next neighborhood over that they can't see. And sometimes those people might be getting better advice that makes a difference, because we really understand that show experience can be the difference maker when it comes to your offer.
Absolutely.
And I think that the way it manifests itself most is when somebody's standing in the house and they look at each other and then they look back at us and they're like, don't lose this house.
Mm-hmm.
Because that means that mostly what we're going to be doing is helping them from making a reckless offer. We're going to be helping tone it down a little bit so that they make sure that they're making an offer that can win, but we understand what invokes those emotions, and we feel good here is what invokes those emotions. And I think that that's really what you deliver.
Absolutely. It's all a feeling, for sure.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight and decoding a little bit about how show experience affects offers. We really appreciate that you have that advice for our clients, and they can find you on our trusted expert lists. This is Leslie Redshaw. She's from Unforgettable Interiors. Did I get it? I got it.
Unforgettable Interiors. Thank you.
And I love how you write that, Unfauxgettable. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are going to move along here, but we appreciate and know that you're available to the people that access you through our trusted expert list, so they can get the rest of your contact information there. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks so much. Looking forward to working with your clients.
Absolutely. My name is Taylor. This is Hack & Company at RE/MAX River City, and we are continuing through our live event, Selling Real Estate in 2021. It's an exciting time for real estate in general. Like, I have to say that this is the best sellers market since 2014, might even look dim by comparison to this. We might be talking about 2006 and 2007. So gaining insight from other markets is part of what we do, and we also want to work with as many trusted experts as possible. Now, where the rubber meets the road when it comes to real estate, because we're out there making promises, and those promises are basically actioned at the lawyer's office. So we're constantly talking to lawyers to make sure that they have the right information, or that our clients have the right information to make these intelligent offers that win, but also are going to be safe. We're just looking for Damian Meardi to come in here next and talk a little bit about that. I think that Tony's got us covered here as far as the co-hosting goes. And so as he's coming in, I wanted to give a little bit more insight into the market right now. What we're seeing, and I put this information up week over week on LinkedIn, is record number of sales. So units sold again and again and again. Over and over and over again, we seem to be making these records each week. Hey there, Damian. How are you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Excellent. Let's get some intro tunes for you. This is Damian Meardi from Henning Byrne LLP. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, because I appreciate what lawyers do in our process. And I understand that you really do a lot to make sure that there's some smooth sailing when it comes to people navigating the seller market.
I certainly try.
Well, there's lots of prevention to be done. And I think that that's where most of the work is. Because like the pound of cure is an awful scenario when it comes to if that ends up being like on the legal side.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I would recommend, or what I tell a lot of the realtors at least I work with, is if you have a question at the beginning, please ask. The problem with us a lot of times is by the time I see a contract, there's not as much I can do because conditions have passed. So ideally, I know for myself, ideally we be involved as early as possible, just to help through those little things that kind of pop up every once in a while.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we do. I know that Doro's on your phone all the time, chatting about different things, and you've helped her navigate some pretty tricky situations, because right now, not only are we seeing offers, we're seeing multiple offers. And I think Tony the other night was in a multiple offer for a backup position. How nervous does that make you?
Sorry?
How nervous does that make you? It's like
not me so much.
With deals, there can be a whole bunch of trouble there, right?
I've seen a few where certainly we're, and it's not really on my end so much, but I've seen a few where sometimes if there's a slight mistake on the broker end or on the realtor end or agent end.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
For yourselves.
Yeah, is that sometimes when the market is shifting as fast as it is right now, the access to information about, like, a lot of people have never even heard of a multiple offer for a backup. Like, you've already got the property pending, and now there's multiple offers, and we follow the regular process, and all of a sudden it happens. But sometimes there needs to be a little bit more information exchanged, because these things can happen so fast. And is it a backup offer or is it not? And is that property being sold twice, is like a lot of the conversation in our office right now, because there can really be some confusion surrounding there. So when somebody's coming into these types of scenarios, we always like for them to ask questions first. But on the selling side, when they're getting ready, can you talk me through RPRs? That seems to be one of the things that is like, I can even see with you now, like that's something that's the biggest rub point, right?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I have an entire presentation on RPRs alone. We can sit here and talk probably for an hour. The biggest thing you have to know is that, I'll tell you from my perspective, age doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's from 2002 or 2005 or 2015. It's just, if there's any changes, we need a new one. And
so just to give some perspective, an RPR, as we're calling it, is a real property report.
Correct.
And a real property report, if you were looking for one in your drawer, like maybe you got it from the lawyer when you bought your property and you just want to find it, what you're looking for is a long sheet of paper where it looks like someone who can only draw stickmen made a map of your house.
Right.
Right.
The older ones, yes. The older ones you would see, and the older ones you'd see a blue stamp that would say compliant. And that would mean everything's good.
Thing, right?
Yes. The newer ones, you'll see a letter go along with it. But again, the important thing that any changes, so some of the things that I've run into is the neighbor puts up a fence. Well, guess what? You still need a new one. We put up a deck, but it didn't need a permit. Still has to be on there. So things like that kind of pop up where people aren't exactly clear as to when they would need to get a new one or when not.
And the purpose of these is to represent to the buyer that what they're buying is what they see, and that the municipality has seen this and said that it's okay. Yeah. So all we're saying is that all the structures are in the right place, or when they were built, they're in the right place. So, what you'll see is sometimes it'll say non-conforming. That just means it's been grandfathered in. When they built it, it was fine, but now it's not. So that's fine. Because they accept those real property reports in the contract in three ways. They can, or in two ways. They can be compliant or they can be non-conforming. But they can't be non-compliant. And when we're taking a look at that purchase agreement in residential resale real estate, we're really taking a look at an agreement that's supposed to create equality between the buyer and the seller. And so this is actually written into the standard agreement as part of the protections that we all expect. Where it kind of gets tricky is how it overlaps with the seller agreement, because the seller agreement says that they have about 2 weeks to give the listing brokerage a real property report. But what if they get 10 offers on opening weekend? Well, then I guess that would be the sort of situation where if you're selling, and especially in a market like this, sorry, I'm just digging for, it's actually may not even be as important as it once would have been, because as a seller in a market like this, if you got multiple offers, you can just say, and this is more, your lane than mine, but if you want, you're going to take title insurance. So that's the solution that we hear a fair amount of the time. And what you're saying is when you have the leverage, you could do that. And when you were saying that it's a little bit my lane, I can agree but I can also say it might cost you. Meaning that if you had an RPR with compliance and everybody had so much confidence in your property, they may show it with their dollars. Whereas if you have to go back and say, we got your offer, but since the standard language says that we're going to provide you a real property report with compliance, then we would be in a position where we'd have to counter. And yeah, it could still turn out okay, but it could still end up being something that makes somebody nervous. It depends on the buyer, because they might have been in a rodeo last time, right? Where, the neighbor put up a fence, so we didn't need one. And then you find out that the fence is in the wrong spot. It's the wrong height. And the neighbor across the street complains. Yes. So that's when we're getting off to these things. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying prevention's where it's at. So if you're going to bring your house to the market, be early, get that real property report so that you can determine when compliance is going to, so you can have compliance. That would be the best scenario, yes. So by the time it even gets to contract, that stuff's done. The other alternative is it's a mad dash to the end. And we're negotiating holdbacks in the last couple of days in order to get the deal closed in time. And
it's a pain for the seller for sure.
So the fact that we maintain a relationship with you as a trusted expert is a huge asset to us, because then we can make these changes on the front end. And to give somebody perspective, like let's say that we're in this process, somebody wants to list their property, we bring it to the market, all of a sudden we're getting offers in, we understand enough to call you and say, hey, listen, we're getting offers on this place, but we don't really want to sign something committing us to getting an RPR with compliance because we haven't seen one yet. What if it's different than what we expect? And that's where you would give us normally advice to say, okay, can you get title insurance? And if not, we might talk about other solutions like a seller's condition.
Yeah.
So there's a few different ways to kind of skin this cat, but tell me another, like the thing that we normally want to talk to people about when it comes to lawyers is how to take up as little of your time as possible. And what I mean by that is that we want a smooth process where you're not using the H word like holdbacks. That's not part of a regular real estate deal.
No, it's not optimal, that's for sure. And a lot of times as a seller, I mean, when it comes to a holdback scenario, you know, if I'm acting for a seller, the way it'll usually work, or if I'm acting for a buyer, the way it'll work is I'm going to ask for enough to cover what the problem is, and enough to make sure that the actual seller does what they're supposed to do. Now, if I'm acting for a seller, again, it's the same sort of thing, but we want to lower that as much as possible if there is a holdback. So holdback, so say, for instance, there's a deck that's non-compliant, or there's a deck without a permit. Deck's worth $5,000. We're going to try and get to hold back as little as possible from our client. The other side's going to try and get us to hold back as much as possible.
So I like how you put that, because we really love the fact that you're taking a look at it from their perspective. And you say that, like, this isn't just a process. We don't just check the boxes. When we're working for sellers, we're looking for optimal situations. When we're working for buyers, we're looking for optimal situations. And that's exactly how we act as a real estate team as well. We love the fact that we're all in it to win it. You know, the clients that we serve are important to all of us. And we all look at it like, you know, when you're done here, is this something that you're proud of? Like, do you feel as though you were steered the right direction and you made the right calls and it cost the right amount of money and you didn't need a whole bunch of contingency funds?
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing is, if you're selling and you look at things from the buyer's perspective, it helps you anticipate any problems that are going to pop up. So the way I try and look at it is, if I was acting for the buyer, this is what I would be looking at. So when I'm acting for a seller, I can sit down with the clients and we can say, this is what's going to happen most likely. They're going to ask for this, 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 and this. We're going to counter with this, and it'll end up here. So if you're looking at it from the other side's perspective, it'll help you anticipate all these little things that pop up, and everything goes smoother then.
I totally agree. And that's exactly what we want. So when sellers are getting tooled up to sell, when is it the right time to contact you?
You know, my preference, and again, it depends on the situation, right? It could, if it's a fairly straightforward, you know, it's not really necessary. That being said, I am always available on the phone if there's any questions. So if there's a question, by all means, it's a good time to contact me. But you know, if there's any little things that, the things that I see pop up the most are just little items. So say, we were talking a little earlier, a movable shed. You know, I'll have sometimes agents will call and say, what do we do about this movable shed? Or how should we structure a clause in the contract and the other terms section that deals with this movable shed? So stuff like that. If, you know, ideally it would be before condition date is always the best time to contact me. For a seller, it's, you know, right away, if there's any kind of question, really.
Yeah, so all the stuff is in preparation. We're normally talking to you once conditions are removed, but we're always talking to you if anything moves or shakes before then. So if a seller says like, hey, I don't have permits for this deck, do I need an RPR? We often are way more comfortable saying, you know what, why don't you have a conversation with Damian? Because you're going to be able to describe it to him. And because he's represented so many buyers, he's going to tell you how they're going to treat you as you approach this, because they're going to be getting advice as well. And so I like how you're able to take that empathetic position that really helps in helping them gain perspective. Now, is there anything else that you are really hoping in our turbulent market will take place? Like if you could get a message out to everybody that was going to sell in 2021, I think the first message is pay attention to your real property reports. It should be one of the earliest things that you do in listing your property, right? Now, Is there anything else that you would like to see? Like maybe you could have a big Damian billboard that helps everyone. What should we put on it?
You know, I think a couple of little things I always tell sellers is insurance. You know, make sure you cancel. And it sounds so, you know, commonsensical, but make sure you cancel your insurance. But cancel your insurance a couple of days after the closing date is a big thing for me that I always tell people. Because what happens if it doesn't close on time? And the 1 in 10,000 chance the place burns down, that one night it's not insured. So the other piece of advice I give sellers all the time, keep it insured a few extra days, just in case. It'll cost you 20, 30 bucks, but it's well worth it.
That's great advice. I don't think a lot of people think of that. They think it's like on and off, and they don't understand that like possession day is a day. It's not possession hour. It's not possession minute. So if you don't have insurance on possession day until those keys change hands, like it's your deal if something happens. Yeah,
and there's a lot of things that are out of the seller's control. So, you know, who is the buyer's lender? Is the buyer's lender on the ball? Did they get instructed properly? Is everything ready to go? And if everything's not ready to go, it's not closing. And if it's not closing and your insurance is canceled on closing day, it's going to sit for a day or 2 or 3. I've seen things close a couple of weeks after, which, yeah, not optimal.
Wow. You know, like when somebody has to look at their living condition over a couple of weeks because something isn't closing and it's an order of operation thing, what comes to my mind is that they may be working with a law office that doesn't specialize in real estate. Because the biggest difference that I see is that when we work with you, you understand what it looks like when the trains aren't running on time, and you know early, right? You know early when the documents didn't show up on time.
You know, and this is kind of more of a buyer side. So I don't, you know, when I'm acting for a buyer, for instance, and this is kind of where that'll come in, is if their lawyer's taking some steps. So if I don't have what I need from a bank on a buyer side, you know, usually I'll be on the phone and letting them know we're still waiting on this stuff. We have to get this done. On the seller side, you know, one of the things that I'll do is if I don't have my documents or I don't have confirmation everything's good to go, it's as simple as picking up the phone and calling, you know, the other side, the other lawyer, to make sure things are still good to go.
Well, that's awesome. And we appreciate you being the phone call that our clients can have. That's why we count you among our trusted experts. So everybody can find you at Henning Byrne LLP, barristers and solicitors. You guys are easy and convenient for those people on the south side. It's nice to be able to have somebody that you can call early and you can call often if you have any questions. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Damian. We appreciate your insight into some of the things that can make somebody's process smoother.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this.
Oh, my pleasure. We look forward to seeing you, and thanks. And it should be an awesome market this summer. We should be talking to you lots.
I certainly hope so.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thanks everybody who's tuning in with us now for Selling Real Estate in 2021. We are going to bring the teammates back in here and talk a little bit about hot listing launch codes. So when you're bringing your property to the market, you don't want it just to come to the market as per usual, like over the last few years, where you may be on the market for up to, 60 days wouldn't have been uncommon. Now you want to come with a strategy that's going to help you get there sooner. And it's something that we're really passionate about. Let's get into it. Let's talk about that hot listing process. We've got Tony, we've got Doro, we've got Bradley. Welcome back. Kim is in the house. All right. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. You guys were normally out showing houses this time, making offers, and we appreciate you making time to make sure the next generation of sellers get good advice. So let's talk a little bit about hot listing launch codes, because we don't do it regular here. We do it different. We do it in a way that gets above the noise. I'm going to talk a little bit about our process, but let's start at the very beginning. So when we're talking to somebody who may be bringing their property to the market in the next couple of weeks, the first thing that we're going to do is gather some information about their property and then go for that walkthrough. Doro, can you take us through that part of the process? So you're going through and helping somebody get ready and having a walkthrough through their property. A lot of them think that they need to be super ready for show right when they get there, right?
Oh, absolutely not. That would be ridiculous.
And
no,
we're the team, right? We're here to help you get ready.
Yeah, so relax. So when I make a walkthrough appointment with a potential seller, when they want to know, hey, what's my value of my home? And of course, I need to have a look, And so I always tell my clients that please do not clean up for me. I understand you're living in the house. I'm only there for 15 to 20 minutes. I can look past your life and see the home. So there's no need for that.
That's awesome. And when we're talking about getting like the most for a property, because right now a lot of it's going particularly fast, what do they need to know when they're taking, you know, their house from, I guess, their house to show home? That method doesn't always seem to be quite clear. Is there something that you feel as though has the biggest impact to buyers as they're walking through property?
I think the biggest impact is to show them, like going from your home to show home. Of course, there is some advice, you know, remove the knickknacks, remove family pictures. I think that's the biggest advice you can give, especially also being a buyer agent and going with buyers through homes where people live in. I see buyers looking at family pictures, so please take them down.
So you're not saying that it's like a foul, you're saying it's a distraction.
It's a distraction, yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it takes away from the home.
Yeah, when they're walking through a property, if it's messy, they're like, oh, I don't really want to live here. Or if it's cluttered. But then if they see, like, you know, the big feature wall of your family, they're looking at faces. They want to be like, do I know anybody here? This is an interesting situation. And it really dispels the feeling of going like, this could be my house. Instead, you're like, who are those people? I don't know those people.
Yeah. That's exactly how it feels. So we talk about these little things, and they're easy to fix. And so when it comes to making a decision of listing, I often say that look at it as a product, make it as nice as possible. You can use show homes as example, or what I also love to do is show similar homes that have sold in the past and how they looked on the inside. I do this, and I do this through a Zoom just to give the potential seller an idea how these homes should look like, and so to have a really short time on the market.
That's fantastic, because if you do have a short time on the market, you really got to make your best impression. And the first impression, like at the top of the show, you were talking about it, Bradley, where, you know, you were saying that photos are viewed 10,000 times, where it might only be that your house is viewed a dozen times in order for you to get top dollar. It may even be less if somebody comes in with one of those bully offers right out of the gate and says, I'm going to give you great reasons not to go to multiples. We're seeing some really cool things in our market as we adapt to this turbulence. Tell us a little bit more about, you know, the visual representation of property when it comes up on the internet.
Yeah, so like you said, it really is everybody's first impression. They're going to see, you know, the ads on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're looking, you're going to see those pictures that are meant to stand out, and you know they really are meant to wow you, because not everybody is going to see that place in person. So you know you want pictures that are going to get that attention, right? You want to be the one that stands out when they're scrolling through their Facebook feed. You want that photo to be like, you want that wow factor, and that's something that we kind of take pride in here. And you know, a big thing that a lot of people may not kind of take into consideration is the amount of people who are kind of looking at work. You know, they may be on their breaks or on the toilet or wherever you are, scrolling through your phone, looking at these pictures. You want something that is actually optimized to be seen on your mobile phone. You know, the worst is when you kind of pull up a picture and you've got to like zoom in and zoom out and, you know, try to make heads and tails of it, when, you know, in actuality, something that you can just naturally scroll through and zoom in as you please is like, it just makes a big difference on that first impression. It, you know, it almost feels like the home is, you know, more set up. You know, you can kind of see yourself walking through it, even if it is just kind of virtually on your phone, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, there's a big difference in the different photos that are being used, but I think that the COVID has a big effect here. You know, people are not walking through as many properties. And if you're not giving them a reason to walk through yours before they do, they may see it as being a risk instead of a reward. I think that the photos out there that are probably the most notorious is the ones that we would call crime scene photos, where there's like all the shadows and it looks like you just got to put the chalk on the floor in the outline of a person. You know, I think those houses get shown less. Like when you're working with buyers, are they sending you listings that have awful photos?
Usually it's, you know, if they're sending me listings with awful photos, it's because they're like, what the heck is going on here? Like, you know, you don't want your pictures to look like a maze, right? You don't want somebody to look through photos and, okay, here's the entryway and where am I now, right? It's kind of nice when it's intuitive.
The next little part of the text is this haunted?
Exactly.
I totally know what you mean. And that's something that I feel as though we've done well, because we understand that our pictures need to stand up in virtual environments. So you're often seeing them on either really bright screens or really dark screens, depending on where you're viewing this type of content. But really, like over 80% of people viewing real estate content are doing it on their mobile phones. So making it
Absolutely.
mobile accessible, making it mobile optimized is the real key. So short video, really vibrant pictures, those things tend to be a big difference maker. And I think that we're normally the ones that are like, no, I know this place looks awful, but you should see it. When they have
and
that.
I actually was talking to Tony the other day, who was telling me about a listing that he had, and after his clients saw the pictures that we got done, they said, wow, Tony, we don't want to sell our place anymore. We want to stay here. Like that is the quality that you can expect. Like the type of photos that you're going to be seeing online, those are what people's impressions are of your home.
Yeah, we get that so much. Like maybe Doro comes and walks through your property and helps you get prepared for sale. And then all of a sudden you see the pictures and you're like, wow, that's a big difference. You know, it can really be outstanding. And if you think that you want to live in your house, then I bet you for sure that someone else is going to want to live in your house. And that's normally like the litmus test. When you think it looks amazing, that's when it's going to sell for sure. And over the last 5 years, in some cases, we've been uncertain. And now the market is bringing us certainty, but how do you make sure that you capture the most of this market? You know, Tony, you were talking about how many times in a row have you brought a listing forward where it's left on opening week now or weekend now?
4 straight weeks the last month.
4 straight weeks. And I think that most of our teammates have experienced listings leaving on opening weekend. We're positioning them well. We're doing a lot of research to make sure that we're either in the flow, but a big part of it is our launch codes. So way back, I designed a little bit of a process that we actually move depending on where the market is. So right now, I would say that we have one of the most robust products to get above the noise. You know, everybody else is saying, okay, I'm going to list your property. And sometimes they go real fast. Like, hey, we're going to come by on Tuesday. We're going to send photos on Wednesday. You're going to be to the market on Thursday. Now, if fast is what you're looking for, I can understand doing that. However, how prepared are you the day after you get help? So like if we come by and we give you a list of 35 things that you could do to improve your resale with your house, are you really going to be ready the next day? And then the other thing is the market going to be ready for you. So right now, like it's Tuesday night, right? So Tuesday night, if we end up getting in there and maybe getting pictures like Thursday or Friday, is this going up on the weekend? Because a lot of the times you guys are setting your weekend showings on Fridays, right? And that's the pattern that we saw. So this is the way it's manifested now, is that we bring property to the market in a very sequential way. The people that know that we bring hot listings, what they see is that we are able to communicate with a lot of buyers at once. We're actually normally managing people that are coming through to our website. Like I think Emily's hitting us with like 10,000 engagements a week often right now. We're getting over 800 people clicking through to come to our actual website. So we're getting a massive amount of traffic. And we have to maximize that. So we actually keep a lot of the contact information that people have exchanged with us and keep letting them know. And because we appreciate that they've exchanged their information with us, we value it by sending them exclusive looks to hot listings. So something that may not be seen on the market on Thursday, if you have come to our website of HACK&Co.ca and maybe open the conversation with one of our teammates or glance properties with us, it's going to ask you to sign in. And normally that means that somebody's going to be endlessly trying to convince you to sell a house. But we're not actually looking just to buy or sell houses here. We're looking to make 5-star experiences. And in making 5-star experiences, often we're going to buy or sell a house. That's why you need us. But it's a very different approach to real estate. So on Tuesdays, we're going to send it to people that are already shopping and might be on the trigger. They might be so afraid because they've already made 7 offers and they haven't got the house yet. And that's going to lead to more opening day showings. And then on Wednesday, we're going to do coming soon on social media. And a lot of people don't understand that you can do this. Our regulations allow it. We have to go through very specific processes to be able to do this. But now we have even more reason for somebody to show up on day 0. And day 0 may be all you get. And if those people are not ready for that, then you could get 3 offers on opening week instead of 7. And who knows, like, do you guys think that there's going to be a price difference based on your experience between 3 offers and 7? Like in some places, we're calculating the number of offers to $5,000 over list and offer. And this is something we talk about all the time. Like we had professional business coaching earlier, and wasn't the whole like session on talking about multiple offers? So when buyers want to win, they need competition packages. I know that Tony was sending in a competition package the other day that got past like 11 other offers and got top attention. And these are the things that make us different. So Wednesday, we're going to do coming soon to our private audience. And when we talk about a social media audience, last year, Emily achieved over 2 million. Emily's our marketer, if you don't know who we're talking about. We keep her in the back because if you had a unicorn, that's where you'd keep them. And on top of that, she's getting thousands and thousands of engagements. So in managing this traffic, this is where we're going to drive into listing launch day. So most properties are going to come to the market whenever somebody's ready. Like most of them are like a mishmash. But if you know that the majority of people that are going to go for showings are going on the weekend, and you know that most agents are going to be booking their showings on Friday, that's when you want it to be everywhere. So you actually have it hit Paragon, which is the Pro Tools, on Thursday. You make that day 0 to be for the people that are going to rush. And then all the public websites are going to be updated by Friday, which means that you are going to be prime time, front and center, newest and hottest for the weekend. And that's what it looks like when you actually have the launch codes for multiple offers. And that's what it looks like when you deliver the experiences to get the top dollar that gets you the most ratings and reviews. And that's something that we've been able to achieve consistently. So let's get a little bit further into this. So we talked about the listing launch day, but now you're taking properties through opening weekend. And I know you don't get through opening weekend all the time, Tony, but can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. I mean, an ideal opening weekend sees a ton of showings happening that first day, which we always list properties on Thursdays as our listing launch day. And so ideally, we're going to see a ton of showings that day. People looking to book Saturday and Sunday because they're not ready for these hot properties. And then we're hoping to see a ton of interest, agents checking in. Is it still available? We might want to bring, grandma through tonight. Is it still available? Just constantly checking in to see if there's any offers that have come in on it. And then we're basically just glued to our systems. We know exactly when showings are booked. We know exactly what their phone number is, and we're just constantly checking in to see if they're in or if they're just going to sit on the sidelines and see what happens. And so a great opening weekend will likely see multiple offers and a lot of people that would be open to competing for that backup position.
Okay, so we're going to see people coming forward to make offers that are prepared with agents already, and then we're going to see people coming forward for offers that are not prepared by agents. So Tony, if you're the listing agent, can all the other teammates raise their hands if they're ready to represent buyers to that property? That's what a team looks like. So when you're talking about who you're going to pick to champion your interest in the market, you have to know that a team is a group of specialists in a land where the most competition is an individual generalist. So we're going to be more consistent. We're going to have more systems, and they don't even understand a lot of the time what's even at play. Like we have something called a hot phone where we get immediate response. We also get a showing phone that is a specific line only for agents to book property. Everybody's getting in, everybody's getting heard, right? And then on top of that, we're getting showing feedback as we go through this process. On opening weekend, we're going to be stacking showings, meaning that the buyer to this property is going to see the buyer representing client A are likely going to see the buyer B coming to the property and feel stress that those people might buy instead of them. There's some key elements that we're taking care of, and that's one of the things that has changed when you put many hands on the same job. Is you have a listing agent and you have 3 people ready to groom buyers. You've met some of our trusted experts that are going to pre-approve those buyers, and we're going to bring you contracts that you can count on. And that is the difference when you're working with a team. Kim, talk to us a little bit about listing management. Like at the end of every showing, you're probably going to get an offer or you're going to get some feedback. Now, I know that the biggest complaint from most listed clients is they never hear from their agent. Can you talk us through a little bit about what it looks like to be managed here?
Yeah, so we're consistently updating our clients. We have a full team behind us. You are rarely without 3 days without hearing from one of us, whether it's, you know, Emily or Erda or the listing agent there. We do showing feedback after every showing. The business day after, we call the agents and we get the showing feedback for your listing. Every second Tuesday, so your opening weekend, we'll contact you on Tuesday, let you know how that opening weekend went. And then we will contact you every second Tuesday with a full market, you know, update on what the area is doing and what new listings are coming up. And so we're always in contact with you, whether it's the listing agent or one of us giving you feedback.
That's fantastic. Like, I think it's pretty irregular for us to look at a file that we're managing a listing and see 3 days without contact. And we're constantly telling them like what has changed in the market, what's newly listed, what's sold, what's changed in price. And I think that the reason that's invaluable is, what if you don't hit it on opening weekend? Like, what if you make it to Monday? How do you feel? Well, you feel like you need some information because what happened, right? And that's something that I want people to understand. It's not hot everywhere right now. There are listings right now that are struggling, and they're down the street from listings that seem to be on fire. And so being able to decode the market takes a lot of information, and gathering that information it takes a lot of time. So in overcoming one of the biggest challenge with sellers, which is not enough communication to make great decisions, that's something that our system has really stood out for, but it also really matters when it comes to offers. So Tony, you were saying that previously you had multiple offer situation, and I know that we've seen all of our teammates actually running into those recently with our listings. So when you get the first offer, you guys just call and negotiate that offer, and then we're done, right?
Absolutely not.
Not a single time. The first thing that we're going to do is check our system and see how many other people like that place, how many other people might be in the mix. Now, what do you see when you take a look at that list? You're going to see a list of agents, and now there's some grunt work to do, right? Take us through it.
Yeah, so we have an offer coming in. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go to see who else has showed it, and we're going to be on the phone with them, finding out some feedback. You know, what did their client have to say about it? What was the experience like? Would it be in their top 3? And then would they want to be notified if we received an offer?
Yeah, so we do
almost always
the regular feedback process, but on opening weekend, it's normally faster than that. Like, agents normally don't respond to feedback on the weekends. So we're actually just taking a look down that list of agents, and it's like mad text messaging. Hey man.
Yeah, it's like, hey, are you guys in? We just received an offer.
Are you in? Are you in? Who hates those texts when you have a buyer? I don't want any argument.
I mean, it gives us another reason. It goes back. We get to go back and tell them, right? If they're.
Yeah, sometimes it helps buyers just to know that these places can leave really quickly. But the main thing is that we want to see what we can capture for potential. We're not here to get an offer. We're here to get the highest amount. And that's the commitment that we're looking for. And often with these types of scenarios, it's systems that really create multiple offers, because how would you know when you're putting this many people through a single property, how do you keep it all straight if you don't have these systems to rely on? So we really appreciate you guys as the pilots of these experience, because, you know, as a designer, making sure that these actually result in 5-star experiences is the biggest part of my job. And you guys deliver over and over again. Like the stuff that people say in our reviews, they can see every single one of your names in the last couple of weeks, just from people coming through and saying, man, this was awesome. This was awesome. This was awesome. So thank you so much for delivering those 5-star experiences. And thank you so much for helping us keep everybody informed tonight. We're going to keep moving on with the show, because this is Selling Real Estate in 2021. And once you get an offer and you go pending, the next thing on your mind is probably going to be the home inspection. So we're going to bring in yet again another trusted expert and talk a little bit about decoding home inspections. Let's do it. My name is Taylor. This is Hack & Company at RE/MAX River City. You are watching Selling Real Estate in 2021, because everything's changed. You know, there's so much that has changed that we want to make sure that you're getting the most recent information. And we're going to have John Gotell come in and talk to us a little bit about decoding home inspections, because a lot of us only think about home inspections when we're thinking about we're only thinking about home inspections at the time that we're buying. We're like my home inspection. But on the other side, what about the seller's home inspection? That's a major thing as well. So let's pop John in here. John, how are you? I'm just connecting to the audio.
Good.
And there should be a button in your bottom left, maybe, to start your video.
Do I hit record or?
No, I got the recording handled, but there should just be a start video button.
Got it.
Sometimes this stuff is tricky. There
Absolutely.
he is. You did it. You did it. Good to see you, man. You are one of the most home inspectors that we see regularly. We always appreciate you helping us deliver those 5-star experiences. And what we want to do right now is to decode that a little bit for sellers that are nervous. You make sellers nervous, eh? You're gonna show up into their storage room. What's that about?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a sensitive thing for sure. I think that we can all appreciate that.
Well, it's actually an interesting experience walking through as many houses as we do. And
Yes.
I find that we see different things from different aspects. So you walking through a 20-year-old house, the thing that I like is by the time you're done, you're going to give the buyer like a manual to a used house. This is like the state of affairs here, right?
Yeah, I like to have it all encompassing for sure.
And so when sellers are looking to get ready, the first thing I'm going to ask on your behalf is give this man some room, like around the furnace, around the hot water tank. That might be where you've kept the luggage up until now. But if you're coming by, you're going to need access to that. What else do you need access to?
I need access to all rooms. Like I've gone into places where people put their storage and they're stacked bottom to top, and there's really no access to get in the room. Then I miss out on the condition of the walls. If it's a basement, I can't check out the exterior walls very well. Check if there's been any past moisture. Look if the plugs are wired correctly. Check if there's egress out the window. Things like that are really important. You need to get in these areas, right?
Yeah, those are super important to buyers. They're making decisions on that. They're going to part with thousands of dollars. And a lot of times after the down payment and all the dust settles, they don't have a budget for these big items. So in that case, we might get a request to maybe have somebody come back, take up more time. Those sellers are going to have to get that stuff out of that room for us to have a look. Because sometimes that's also the room that's got the sump pump in it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And at some point, we got to wonder, is there a reason that you're putting all this storage in this room that is so important to us if it has these mechanical
Yes, I have past stories about that. So it is something that happens.
Yeah, and I imagine that you've kind of seen it all. So there's something that I think that sellers don't realize because they haven't had a home inspection during the time that they've owned the house. What are the things that are normally a surprise when you're going through? Because you check everything. You're going to check how the windows work, how all the doors work. But where are you seeing things that maybe a seller could pay more attention to before the home inspector arrives?
So as a seller, you really want, for one thing, I would say it needs to be clean, because obviously clean makes it easy to move around, easy to look behind things and stuff. And when you look behind stuff and you see dirt, it kind of gives you not a great impression right off the start. So you always want to give the best impression, but yeah, to have plugs tightened, make sure your doors aren't wiggling, like simple things that a seller can do that you don't need a lot of experience for. You don't need to bring someone in, or if you do, a typical handyman that's a little bit less expensive could come in and handle these small things, right? Yeah, just making sure stuff is clean. I think that's a big thing for a seller. Something simple, but makes a huge difference.
I totally agree with that. So giving you a little bit of space to move, but there's also some things that might be indicators that are going to come on your list anyway. Like I know a lot of realtors will comment when they get out of the car and they start to see the shingles curl and things like that. When you're walking up to a house and you see those visual cues, what are you thinking when you see some shingles curling on as you're approaching?
Well, I'm thinking I need to get into the attic for one thing and just make sure that the condition on the inside of the attic is okay, because a lot of times shingles curling just means end of life cycle, right? And it's an indicator that we need to go and do that change. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's a leak in the roof, right? It just means that we need to take extra care and check out all those, around flashing areas for sure on an older roof. Places where the deterioration could cause leaking. So
when you see
but
these indicators, the first thing that your mind goes to is, this a bigger problem than I can see?
Of course, absolutely. Yeah, and it's the same with like if a seller covers something with a picture or something, right? Those are indicators that really set my radar off, and then the old detective hat gets on, and we start really rolling up our sleeves. We do anyway, but our senses just become a little bit more heightened at that point, right?
Yeah. So when you're going through a home inspection and something doesn't look right, you're going to approach it a little bit more. But then when it doesn't look right, and you've seen like methods used to like conceal it, I definitely think that I'd be setting my spidey senses off as well. And that's why we trust you with so many clients. We want to make sure that they have somebody who's going to be looking at things really from the focus, from their focus. And that's why I think sellers get a little bit nervous of the home inspector, because you guys are never on their side.
No, well, they're not paying us.
Yeah. And the thing is,
we do pre-sale inspections. So if they want to pay us to pre-sell their inspection, we'll tell them everything that an inspector is going to find.
Now, this is something that I wanted to talk to you about. Now, I want to give one last announcement before we move forward here. This is your last chance to enter the contest. So we had 7 contests that we launched. You had sponsored one of them, John. We appreciate that. And
my pleasure.
Right now, somebody can enter into the discussion on the live event. They can go down through the contests. They can put a comment there or enter the contest. And we're giving away some sweet prizes. Somebody earlier won a Bose SoundLink.
Cool.
Some good stuff going around here. So if you haven't entered yet, please do so. And now, turning the conversation to this crazy sellers market that we're getting into, we are not far away from sellers ordering home inspections. Like if you want top dollar and you want to remove all of the obstacles to somebody coming in with an unconditional offer, could you not offer a home inspection?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, it's the equivalent inspection. It's just for the seller, just and it shows honesty upfront and purpose to sell, right? Like they're interested in selling, they're motivated to sell, and they want to make it go as smooth as possible. Therefore, doing that, right? And that doesn't take away the buyer's ability to have their own inspection. It just it could, because we should all be under the same certification or under a certification with a scope of work. And then that being said, scope of works are always a minimum. I just want to highlight that, just since I brought up scope of work. It's like any area, you have a baseline, and that's where a minimum everybody has to look at. So example, representative sample of windows and plugs. I check all of them, every single one that I can get to without moving their personal things. I will check.
We appreciate that level of being thorough. It's something that means a lot. Like, you have a background that kind of lends to that, because not only are you a home inspector, but my understanding is you have a background in as an electrician.
Yes. Yeah. I had 20 years as an electrician and 10 years as an instrumentation engineer. It just, that education and that being in the field is, you can't replace it. It's so valuable.
Well, especially since both of those elements kind of lead to you being detailed and understanding how to measure and manage things. And those are valuable assets in home inspection. So we appreciate that. But one of the things that we always note is how good you are explaining things to clients. That's something that can really be the biggest separator when it comes to home inspectors, because home inspectors that know more leave less to uncertainty. They give more explanations. They go deeper. And that's something that we appreciate. When we talk a little bit about home inspections or from the seller side, what are the things that you would also say are going to come up for sure? So if you have like these kind of 3 things going on in your property, they're going to come up on a home inspection for sure. You don't need to leave it to your memory.
Caulking all the time, caulking everywhere, exterior, interior, around bathrooms, thresholds, under sinks. People think because you have a sunken sink, you don't need caulking there. Well, you definitely do, right? Caulking is a huge one. Things that come up quick are like doors not latching, stuff like that. Stuff that it doesn't need to affect your sale, right? With a little bit of detail on the seller's part. Hinges on your cabinets, rollers, or your cabinets rolling out nice. All those things, like if people come in and everything's free moving, doors open and close freely, it gives you a more relaxed feeling of the place, its functionality.
Yeah, and the thing is those little things can add up and work in different ways than you expect. So it could be that you've run into a really sensitive buyer, somebody who is not handy at all. Then everything is an obstacle to them. They're like, how do we make these cabinets move better? And like a lot of people are like, you just lubricate them, it's okay. But for some people, they're going to be like, you know what? I think I'm going to have to go find another house, because it's not like this one's the only one. They probably saw 6 or 8 of them.
Absolutely.
And I always think that one thing can kind of demonstrate all things. Like if you're walking into a place and you know that all the cabinets are kind of moving funny, maybe there's one of those like pot drawers that's kind of like leaning to the left, and you end up seeing a few things that that kind of don't add up. That's again a spidey sense thing, right?
Absolutely, for sure. It just shows that there wasn't,
when you get to the furnace.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you expect to find lack of maintenance, right? You expect to find a dirty filter. You expect to, when I see stuff like that, now I'm pulling open every heat register and looking how much dirt's in there. Things like that. Is your garage door closing behind you without assistance, or even though you have a self-closer, you just haven't done the maintenance for so long. Maintenance is huge on the place. It shows pride and ownership, and it just makes people feel comfortable with the stuff they don't understand about your place. Right? When the stuff that they do understand about your place is aligned.
Absolutely. And when you take a look at people that are parting with money, like some people that were pre-approved for 450 aren't able to buy at 450 in some neighborhoods now, because even a property priced at 450 is going to sell at 465. So they're already moving down and feel like they're parting with top dollar. And all of a sudden the home inspector goes through and they're like, yeah, I've got a list. There's just 45 things here that you're going to want to pay attention to.
Yeah.
It really makes you think twice, right? And if you say, like, let's say that buyer decides to go somewhere else, the next buyer, the first question out of that agent's mouth is, I see that you guys were pending. Was there a home inspection? They don't ask what happened at the home inspection, because they know we're going to shine it up, right? Oh yeah, it was fine. The home inspector only had one eye. I think he was missing a shoe. Said everything was crooked. Like like those types of things are how realtors kind of talk to each other sometimes.
Yeah.
But
even
when you've had a home inspection, that's already a step too far.
Yeah, even as a home inspector, if I find out it was pending and then it didn't go through, I will be like, okay, so I have to find. I'm digging until I find what the other inspector found here. Right, we're going to be here 4 hours. Everybody get comfy.
I like that you condition people that way. You're like, hey, listen, I know what I'm walking into. I have great conversations with our team here. We're ready to make sure that there's nothing missed, and we have reason to believe that there's something to look for.
Absolutely, for sure.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for helping us deliver so many 5-star experiences, and thank you for helping us talk about something that doesn't get spoken about enough.
My pleasure.
Inspections from the seller side, and we feel as though you're one of the best in talking about these things. So this is John. Am I saying it right? Is it Gotell?
Just Gotell.
Gotell. And I like how it's just as you say it. Like, imagine John Gotell, and because we like
straight to the point.
Yeah, we like that you get straight to the point. And he's from Arrive Home Inspection. You can see him on our trusted expert list. You're going to see him out with us. If you see a HACK&Co teammate parked in front of a house for a couple hours, it's very likely that he's going to be there as well. So thank you so much for helping us out tonight. And I hope that you have a great rest of your night.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Okay, we're moving through here. Thank you everybody for joining us. This is Selling Real Estate in 2021, because honestly, selling real estate has changed. We need to know a little bit more about fast markets. We need to know a little bit more about multiple offers, and we need to know a little bit more from Cheryl Wilkes. So let's get Cheryl Wilkes all connected to here, and I will tell you a little bit about her. So we often work with a series of different lenders, and we like people that also work with a series of different lenders. It helps people get some perspective. Sometimes our clients are already working with somebody, and we need to put a second horse in the race. And if you get a chance to bet on Cheryl, you should bet on Cheryl. So moving with the mortgage is what we're talking about. We have Cheryl Wilkes from Cheryl Wilkes Mortgages, and we appreciate you coming in to chat with us a little bit tonight. Good to see you.
You too. I was going to say, I literally been watching you for the last little bit on my phone while I was hanging out here at the office.
Is there anything I need to change? Am I all crooked?
No, you don't have that sideways one eyeball issue going on.
Much. So thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for helping so many of our clients get prepared, because a lot of the time when they think about talking about mortgages, they're only thinking about talking about it when they're thinking about a sale.
Totally. Yeah.
Or, sorry, when they're thinking about purchase rather. But when we're talking about sellers, well, where are you going to go?
And what are you going to do? And how are you going to do it? And in what order? And oh yeah, it's the can of worms of questions.
Yeah, so there's so many people that come to us and they kind of manifest as buyers because that's what they're focused on. If they're going to move, the next thought is like, where am I going? And so they take a look at property out there, and all of a sudden there's a property that they really like. And then we find out that they've also got a property to sell, and it's not prepared yet. You know,
Yes.
Right now in fast markets, subject to sale could be a recipe for heartache and woe, because you're not the only one who wants that property in most cases. So when we're talking to a client that is getting ready to approach that buy and sell process, and they come into your office, what are the bases that you want to cover out of the gate?
It's really figuring out, what the options are, right? So, does that first property have to be sold to qualify for the second one? Is the equity, the down payment coming out of one to go into two, or do they have, some of their own cash? Is there a cosigner option potentially if property 1 and 2 are not affordable, or, is looking at all the different moving parts to kind of determine, okay, what is plan ABC, which is your best case scenario? But if that's not happening, because like you said, they try and put in an offer with, pending home sale or something like that, do we also have plan LMNOP already planned, decided, discussed, and, there's no surprises, right?
I love the attitude. I love the optimism. Like, hey, plan A doesn't work. Lucky for us, 25 more letters.
Yeah.
And then we can go numbers, and then there's some symbols.
XYZs are normally the ones people just don't want. LMNOP is like the mid-range of like, okay,
I like it. So when that's something that I don't think that people understand is how this translates into the purchase as well. Like we work with lenders that have great reputations. Like you are a real estate investment network mortgage broker of the year. You have a lot of relationships in real estate. And we know when we're bringing an offer in for multiple offers, like we have a competition package here. That's something that might not be heard of in our marketplace, but we're in it to win it. And we know that when we tell people that you're working on it, the right conversations have happened, meaning that we all get in alignment. We understand what our clients' expectations are. We're normally talking about where they want to actually make a purchase, but sometimes we're also talking about that home run number. So if we get into if we're standing in a house together and we're all like, okay, this is going over the fence. Like this is everything we wanted on every list, and we're in a lineup with 7 other people. What do we do now? And so often we'll end up coming up with market research that says that this property is actually it's undervalued. Given how the market's changed, they're working with old information from like 4 months ago. They're 2% down market already. Totally. And, in an average price point in the greater Edmonton area, we're talking about $8,000 off. They might've listed at 400 when they can already, we could see an appraisal come in at 410.
Exactly. And it's happening more than we've ever seen in years, that appraisals are actually coming in above value. We were like praying for them to come in at value sometimes, like 2-3 years ago.
Okay, so with all these multiple offers going on, the people that are normally making the largest investment are the banks. So most people are putting less than 50% down. Normally it's a small amount. It's 5%, it's 10%, it's 20%. We're dealing with a lot of families, and they're looking to deliver those 18 summers, right? You
Yeah.
know, we're both parents, and just understanding like where the priorities are. So
Totally.
sometimes they're trying to make these money move and patch things and change as they're upgrading their house. This has been something that you've done really well for our clients, is taking a look at the whole field and making a plan.
Right.
And you were saying, do you need to buy one before you sell one? And I like how you put that, because some people, they may not want to hold one, but we can show them what certainty looks like if it's available on their sale. So with this much data happening in this part of the spring, like, you know, my weekly update on LinkedIn, last week, another record number of solds, but not a record number of listings. So we're in another week.
It's, yeah. And it's so fast. Like, we joked about this the other day when I saw you. If you weren't around in 2007, you feel like your hair's on fire in this industry because you haven't even sniffed what's going on right now, right? Like, people are like, you know, like you said, it's kind of that duck out of water feeling where it's like people they're having a hard time navigating it because it's not been our norm. Like some of the bigger cities like Toronto, Vancouver, they know that over market list or over market offers has just been a thing for forever. With us, it's been a long time. So yeah, and that's actually one of the things that makes it really valuable to be a RE/MAX agent, is the fact that we have a great global network. We're plugged into all the major markets at once, and we can tell you with all certainty. Like, I can tell you right now that throughout North America and every major market, we're in a real estate boom, and I can also tell you that Delhi, India, as well as China, are quiet. And that's something that you don't get without a global brand, and you don't get with this level of connection. So I really appreciate having that information. It helps us make better decisions here. When I was talking about competition packages, saying that we're having Cheryl Wilkes do the mortgage is meaning something in our market now. You know, it's something where it will bring a listing agent certainty so that we can more likely get that offer in. But when we're talking about sellers and we bring them in for you, you're often taking a look at the snapshot that they're in right now, but then making an ideal based on the information that we give you. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about how much their house will sell for, and then you're going to kind of match it up into what the vision is in the future. Exactly.
That, like, what do we need to do? How many companies need to be involved? Does my mortgage come with me? Do I need to pay it back? How does this work?
Totally. And I mean, and that's always what it boils down to, like you said, is building that sort of the sort of what we might call our master plan, which would always be that plan A. This is your best case scenario, right? Honestly, 99% of people I talk to don't want what we jokingly call a homeless mode, where you sell your house and you've not found the new one, which in this market is like actually happening to people because houses are selling so fast, right? It's figuring out.
We've always warned people. We've always warned people that we'll make you homeless. Like, we're not in the business of listing properties. We're in the business of selling properties.
Yeah, totally, right? It's one of those things that, you know, like you said, they're getting into a couple different, you know, offer situations. And, you know, I mean, if they need conditions, if you've got a really solid offer, awesome. But I mean, every once in a while, we all watch that, like you said, a bully offer come in where someone just rustles right through the middle no matter what. And it happens, right? So, I mean, it's like you said, it's treading lightly to say, okay, plan A, plan B, LMNOP sitting in the background. Most people would rather buy their house first and then list and sell afterwards if they can, is what I'm seeing more often, so that they don't run into that strange scenario of like they may have a couple days where they have to stay with family, which during COVID is not happening for a lot of people, right? They're not supposed to be. Or stuck in an Airbnb or a hotel that's got like nobody in it right now.
You know what? We've sent people camping in the past, and I don't even know if you have a camping site now. Like, it's like one of those things where the world has changed. And so
in your U-Haul truck,
try to look forward into what can happen, because we don't always know exactly what will happen, but what we're good at is making good plans.
Exactly.
So in our market right now, some of the things that people feel pressure on is these really short conversion times.
Yeah.
So we really stress that they talk to you early.
Yes.
Get that pre-approval in motion. So let's say that somebody was investigating buying or selling, you know, maybe 3 years ago. How's the landscape changed now? Is the lender landscape more inviting or less inviting than it was 3 years ago?
I would say, I mean, the arbitrary answer that everybody hates to hear is it depends. So lenders are still looking at their lending based on risk mitigation, obviously, right? So I mean, that hasn't changed. That's never changed. Mortgages have always been based on risk levels, right? They're still wanting fairly similar credit scores. They're still looking for job stability. We are seeing some flexibility, though, at least if people's incomes last year with COVID were affected, and either the employers can confirm if they were closed, if somebody was off, or whatever that may be. We're at least seeing some flexibility, nothing sort of solid yet, but there's at least some relief that's kind of coming from that. In terms of liquid assets, cash and all that stuff, this is the one that we're watching shift more. Back in the day as a first-time home buyer or even an upgrade, they were saying, yeah, no problem. You've got your 5% down on the next property. Yeah, you'll sell yours afterwards. No worries. They're now getting stickier about those scenarios. They just want to make sure people have more than their down payment and 50 bucks in their back pocket, right? They want to know that if something happens to an income or things like that, which we just literally have been watch happen for the last 12 months, they want to make sure that you've got a safety net in there, right? I mean, we would like to think all of our clients have it, but it's definitely something that I'm chatting with everybody about, saying, hey, don't empty out your bank account and leave 20 bucks. Like, do you really want to be that close to your eyeballs? I don't ever suggest it, because then you're living on cracked dinner for possibly 2 months while you're trying to pay for curtains. You know, like,
yeah, and that's the big part of making the numbers real.
Totally.
You know, like when you finish a mortgage application, you might say like, okay, I can see how you can get a house, but how are you guys going to eat after that?
Totally.
These children, they want to eat like more than once a day.
We're also shocking people with just those lower rates, right? Like, you know, I've chatted with people where I'm going, yeah, you're selling that first home you bought for, I don't know, say for example, $350,000, and they think the jump to getting into that, say $500,000 sort of, like you said, longer term, that 13 to 18 years of life that they need if they've got little people, to say I need space. They're a little bit shocked as to how small sometimes that spread can be, because rates are so much lower than where they were, say 3 to 5 years ago, right?
Isn't that crazy? Can you give me the like rough ballpark for 10,000 bucks? How much is that?
40 bucks a month right now.
So what you're saying is if 10,000 is 40, 100,000 is 400.
Yeah. It's not much. That's the crazy part.
So that's like a car payment, and you could upgrade $100,000.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Because that's really like the average upgrade for most families out there. Is their growing pains, they're going to kind of move up that 100. In some cases right now, we're seeing people make larger jumps right now because they have to school from home, they have to work from home. They're wanting more characteristics, but they're able to achieve that in lower value locations. It's interesting to see people looking to move further out in the city. They don't mind the commute. They might not even go to school or work every day now, just because it's shifting. So it's interesting to see how that's coming into play on your side.
Yeah.
Well, I always really appreciate the advice that you give. We always want people to talk to you early. And if somebody was to call you right now, when would they have their pre-approval back if they had all their stuff ready?
So if they have all their documents ready, we basically can generally get stuff done like same day. Credit pulls literally take like 6 seconds or something like that. I think I timed it once, from me hitting pull and it popping up, right? So, I mean, that's super quick. All of the consent forms, all the major documents in terms of our compliance, everything can be e-signed. It's very electronic friendly. So even the people who struggle a little bit with the electronic signing, DocuSign's pretty simple to use. You know, generally from that first conversation I have with people, we'll chat about some numbers. I'll input all the information into like an actual application to get it rolling. Generally, we're sending an email within about 15 minutes after the conversation is done. Here's what we've discussed. Here's what it sounds like your plan is. Here's the kind of details you asked about. As you and I have joked about before, I'm like a PDF Nazi. So I have like a PDF for everything. So I'm like, here's about the first time buyer's incentive. If you're new, here's renovation mortgages, whatever it is we've discussed. I'm firing out information to kind of follow up with people, because I know the conversation that you can spend on the phone with somebody is so much information to them. Like people joke, it's like drinking from a fire hose. And I'm like, yeah, it kind of can be sometimes. So here's the info we talked about to help them kind of compartmentalize. And then we do all of our document collection myself personally. I do everything through a secure server. So I'm literally sending the secure server link to the clients. Here's the checklist. Here's your little PIN number. Load pictures from your phone, PDFs from your computer. As soon as they load it, I'm getting a notification it's there. So, I mean, nowadays with a lot of employers having stuff online, you know, like they can log in and pull letters of employment potentially, T4s from CRA online, which we actually do have a line in now through the broker channels. If you're signed up for it, I can pull somebody's entire CRA online profile for them.
Wow. So that's the best thing about it. Not only do they not need to know this much information because they get to bring you with them, but on top of that is that the hard parts, we're usually tracking down all that other stuff. And it sounds like you
Yes.
get that taken care of.
Yeah, exactly. The quickest and the least painful is always the goal in the very beginning. You know, to at least say, okay, it's great. You gave me these income numbers. Now let's solidify that, because when you start, all it is numbers to start, right? If I'm messaging or emailing or you know, sending an update to anybody on your team, I'm saying, yeah, we're good to go. Let's pull the trigger and get them out. That if they walk into that perfect house, we know you can put in that offer that night. You know, the amount of phone calls and text messages and emails I feel like I'm getting in this market at about 7 to 8 o'clock at night from people going, we saw the best house ever. How high can we go?
Well, that's the thing that we want to make sure is that not only do they know what they're capable of and what their buying power is, where are they safe? Because the interesting thing is we're not seeing appraisers necessarily give them limits right now. You know, when you take a look at like maybe the last 10 purchases that you had processed that were over list, how many got rejected appraisals? None. And that's what we're getting reported because we ask. I want you to know that when an appraiser calls us and says like, hey, we'd like access for that listing, it's not like, sure, go on Thursday. It's like, hey, what's going on, man? Because we want to know, right? Like we are students of the game, and we
appreciate. You guys might know my guy personally by now, then probably at this point.
Yeah, we got his coffee order.
Right.
So the idea there is that we want to be in the know. We need to know what's happening in mortgages. We need to know what's happening in appraisals. And that's why we wanted to put so many trusted experts tonight. We really appreciate you helping us wrap the show here and talking through a little bit about what it is to engage the market when you already have a house. Like, how do you get this whole process started? And honestly, you get the process started by calling Cheryl. Like you can just give her a ring. We can get you easily connected. You're on our trusted expert list. And that's Cheryl with Cheryl Wilkes Mortgages. Thank you so much for all the assistance that you've given us. You're like the silent person behind so many 5-star experiences that we've been.
I really appreciate the invite and being a part of the event. Because like you said, I mean, the amount of education that people want nowadays, you guys give them 110%. So.
Well, we appreciate your confidence and thank you so much. I hope that you have a fantastic night. We are going to pull the rest of the teammates in and talk a little bit just about wrapping up here and what somebody could do if it was their next steps. Thank you so much, Cheryl. I hope that you have an excellent evening.
You too. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Wow. Look at these transitions. You guys are like, when we're talking about movement as a team, here's the example. We can even put on our team logos or team music. We only heard that once or twice. So we've been through quite an experience tonight. We've been talking to people about lending. We've been talking to people about getting ready with their mortgages. We've been talking to them about what happens when the home inspector comes. What did we miss?
The offer.
Well, we got the offers covered.
Well, we got the offers covered.
We probably got some in our pockets right now, and a few people actually I think are negotiating right now. Anybody here negotiating right now? Welcome to spring, and I want everybody to know that spring has sprung a little bit early. We're normally waiting for like 2 weeks from now for the big jump up, and we've already experienced that. It's time to come to the market if you're getting ready. At least make the phone call and get in touch with us. Let's go through and talk a little bit about the prize winners when it comes to tonight. So we were able to give away this Bluetooth speaker, the one that I've got right here. We're going to have Colleen Pusher come by and pick this up so that she can make her summer even more fun. We also gave away an atmosphere lamp with a Bluetooth speaker, and that one went to Morgan Birch. Congratulations, Morgan Birch. I got to work my thing here. There we go. And we also gave away $150 GC. We're trying to keep many things local as we can. And this one's to Vicky's Bistro and Wine Bar. And that's from Amelia. And that one went to Amelia Lung. and was sponsored by Cheryl Morhart. We also gave away a $100 prepaid Visa, sponsored by Blair Rayfield, and that went to Jeremy Green. Congratulations, Jeremy Green. And we also had a snack and drink gift basket go to Vivian Lung, and that was from Cheryl Wilkes. And Justine Cooper brought us a $150 legendary Body Lounge gift certificate. And that one went to Nakone Sipanaya. I'm sorry. I tried. There was a lot of vowels. I'm going to have to get you to teach me. I've got a really short last name. I can make it work most of the time. $200 Skip the Dishes went to Joe Waldner. Congratulations, Joe. And that was from Damian Meardi. And I think that that was pretty action-packed when it comes to contests. Everybody showed up to play. Those are some pretty good prizes. So when we talk about people selling, the next thing that we're normally talking about is buying. And I think the name of the game in matching up selling and buying is starting with deeper conversations. The one thing that I'm going to recommend to everybody is that they find their agent before they find their property. That is the biggest advice I could give you, is the person standing next to you at the time where the pressure is applied is going to make the difference. Now, in you taking sellers and buyers out in the marketplace, what would you like to pass on to them as we close our show? Any closing thoughts?
If possible, do not work with the listing agent. Their first client is the seller. You should have someone representing you, just like Taylor said.
And that's actually why we were talking earlier that if one of us has a listing, we're going to keep 3 positions open to represent buyers. There is some additional information that we give to people about working with a brokerage that's representing a buyer and a seller. But the main thing is that we want their information to be great. And we also want to know if that property is a good fit. So instead of taking somebody and saying, you should buy this house, we're more so starting those conversations that are like, hey, let's get to know you a little bit. Let's get to know if this is a good fit. And we're going to talk to you about market value and some other elements as we move forward. And I think that's a very different experience than when you're talking to the person that's already made a promise to get the most money for that seller. Even if that's the person on our team, because let's be honest, we're going to do it, right? Anything else that you'd like to fling into the market and hope it sticks with somebody out there that's about to engage in 2021 in selling?
Yeah, I just feel like people, oh, sorry, go ahead, Kim.
Also, I was gonna say, interview multiple agents to make sure you know their process and if you're a good fit.
You know what? Actually, I'm going to ask Emily to maybe pop that into the discussion. Is we have a blog on interviewing multiple agents. We really feel strongly about it. You know what? If you interview us among other agents, we're going to win if we're a great fit for you. And that's the only place that we really want to win. There's some people that are a great fit for how we do business. We're definitely going to offer them a premium product that delivers. And there's people out there that are looking for that experience. So I think that's a great advice there, Kim. Bradley, what did you what was on your mind there?
I was just thinking, you don't have to have the perfect plan in place before you reach out to us or to any professional, whether it's your lender or your lawyer. Sometimes we're in the position to help you make sure that that plan is the right plan for you. So, even if you're scrambling around, a little scatterbrained, not 100% sure what's going on, get in touch with us and we might be able to help you sort that out. And, we can help you measure so you can manage. It doesn't necessarily mean that, you're going to buy right now or you're going to sell right now. But the important thing is, for sure what is possible, and we can help you make that plan moving forward.
I think that's great. You know what? We want to make sure that everybody knows that there's no pressure to call us. We're going to help you from wherever you are to a 5-star experience. Somewhere in there, we're going to help somebody buy or sell houses, because that's normally why they're calling us. So thank you so much for contributing all that you do to the clients that we serve. We really appreciate you here. And we hope that you also have an excellent evening. I know that there's going to be a few people up late night negotiating. So maybe we'll be going with another serving of coffee. So thanks again for coming in tonight, and thank you all for watching. We really appreciate you, and we're looking forward. So please contact us when you're ready. Our hot phone number is 780-909-6770. It's easy to track us down at HACK&Co.ca, and you should see the blog library. If you're looking for toolkits for sellers, if you're looking for tools for buyers, we have been working hard at making sure that you have access to information, but it's only a phone call away. You don't need to do the work to learn. You can actually just contact us directly. So my name is Taylor. This is Hack & Company at RE/MAX River City, and I hope that your night is going amazing. Thank you so much.